What's going on, fellow A-plusers? It's your boy, Adam Perez. We're back once again with a brand new video for you guys today. Brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, streaming live for you guys over on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch for you guys. Thank you so much for certainly joining us here today. We got 6 incredible topics we're going to be breaking down for you guys today. We got some big John Wick news as we're getting ready to celebrate its 10-year anniversary, which is trippy to even say. Tom Holland is speaking out about Spider-Man 4s. We got some incredible updates for you. And believe it or not, guys, this probably shouldn't come as a surprise. Star Wars loses another writer. Plenty more to certainly talk about, but we'll certainly see you on the other side. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC television, and movie news. It is I, your host, Adam Perez, joined none other by my co-host, as always, Stuart Branscombe in the house. What's going on, Stu? Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, not much. Just waking up from a decently busy day of work the previous day, but other than that, I'm good to go. So I apologize to everyone if I'm a little low energy at first, but I should be fully awake by the time we get to at least the halfway point. I think.
You got your coffee yet?
Oh, hell yes. I got my coffee in my Goonies cup because Goonies never say die.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I got my coffee handy as well. Guys, first and foremost, real quick, let me just get the elephant out of the room. The internet on my side is acting a little funky today. So for some particular reason, if it's pixelated, if it drops, if it freezes, I do apologize. Please be patient with me. Definitely doing my best. I'm not even using my Wi-Fi today. Like, I'm literally connected with my Ethernet cable. So I guess it's just, Spectrum. What can you say? So I do apologize about that, ladies and gentlemen. So bear with us. But, Stuart, this is our first time back in like 2 weeks, man. We didn't get a chance to sit down and hang out last weekend and talk some news. They had a New York City Comic-Con panel last week. Also, James Gunn went ahead and talked a little bit about some updates for the DCEU. I might highlight them very briefly in honorable mentions for us also. But we certainly missed out on a lot. But we're definitely going to do our best this week, ladies and gentlemen, and certainly get you guys up to date. So hopefully you guys missed us as much as we missed you. But it's good to see you again, Stuart, man. I definitely missed last weekend's episode for sure.
Definitely good to be here.
We even though we didn't have a live episode of A-Plus Hero Report, if you haven't checked out our channel lately, I have been dropping a ton of panel highlights from last weekend's Dallas Fan Festival, which is truly like an Arrowverse celebration, like truly. We had an Arrow panel. I think it had David Ramsey and Willa Holland. They had female icons of Arrowverse, where it was Willa Holland, Daniel Panabaker, Katie Lotz, Candace Patton, Bitsy Tulloch was there. They had themselves a Superman and Lois panel, a Flash panel. I mean, it was unbelievable. I haven't even gotten done with all the panels as of yet, guys. But I think we have at least like 6 panel highlights up on the channel. And believe it or not, Stuart, we gained like 20 subscribers this week just from our panel highlights, some shorts and clips that we wind up putting together. It's been a pretty busy week, man, and we definitely are showing some growth this week for sure.
I hope that if those subscribers love hearing about those celebrities talk about news coming up, they love enjoying hearing our reaction about those celebrity news coming up. I will say one thing that kind of surprised me though, so I saw the Superman panel that you uploaded with Dean Cain and Brandon Routh and one of the voice actors,
George Newbern,
I was surprised because Tyler Hoechlin was at the same convention. I'm surprised he didn't join them. That would have been kind of cool to have him with the other 2 live action Supermen.
Something tells me originally he was planned, but I do wonder if it was like a change in schedule or something came up. I think he might have only been there that Saturday, and that panel happened to be on a Sunday. So I do think maybe like it might have been a scheduling conflict or something like that. Because Bitsy was there on Sunday too, if I'm not mistaken. So I was surprised. I really would have liked to have had Tyler there. I don't even think they got a chance to get to fan questions or anything like that, because I was really going to try and ask them if they had any advice for David Cornsweet. But they didn't do a Q&A portion to it for the fans, at least. But they did certainly have some. That was a pretty fun panel. I'm not going to lie. The panel was actually pretty fun. And, regardless of what Dean Cain's politics certainly might be, I will say he's a funny dude. Like, just the panels that I watched him in, he seems like he gets along with so many people, and he looked like he had a blast up there on stage. So yeah, all the Superman stuff was really fantastic.
I also do like I always got to appreciate a guy who enjoys a laugh at his expense.
Yes.
Because he was in this movie directed by Jason Mewes where he played himself, and the main joke being he was terrified about being recognized, but then every time he's out in public, no one cares. And it's like I love when a celebrity can do that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of which, I'm not going to get too political or anything like that, but go vote if you haven't voted yet.
Yes.
Early voting here in Texas has in fact begun. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. That's certainly up to you and your own conscience. But here in Texas, early voting is certainly here. I think early voting ends, at least in Texas, November 1st, which is next Friday. So you got about 5 days or so, 5 or 6 days to do your early voting. Don't sit on the sidelines. Your vote certainly matters. Somebody told this to me once, Stuart. They said, if you wouldn't want your grandparents to create your Spotify playlist for the next 4 years, don't let somebody else vote for you, okay? Because other people will vote, and you won't have the opportunity to if you don't let your voice be heard. So don't let somebody else choose. Definitely make your choice as well. So go vote. Go vote.
I love it. I always just say, hey, voting gives you a right to bitch when things don't go right.
Exactly. Exactly. If you vote and things don't go your way, you could have had some sort of say in it, but you didn't. So definitely go ahead and vote. It is your civic duty, and that's one of our rights as American citizens. So definitely enjoy it. We got a couple of things we're going to get into today. We got 6 incredible topics I'm really excited to go ahead and talk about. We got some live viewer questions we're going to dive into towards the end of the show. So if you haven't submitted them in, feel free to go ahead and do so. You can go over to our YouTube channel, click on the community tab. There is a live viewer question post. Feel free to submit your your questions over, and then we'll go ahead and tackle those at the end of the show. Again, if my internet is a little flaky off and on, I do apologize quality-wise, but I'm definitely doing my best here. So hopefully we don't have any issues as the show goes on, but cross your fingers. Cross your fingers.
We shall find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. Stuart, let's go ahead and kick off this week's episode with our first segment of the day. We're gonna get into some honorable mentions. Before we get into honorable mentions, I'm so sorry, guys. We usually like to give some shout outs to people that are actually joining us live. See, I'm gone for like 2 weeks, Stuart, and I don't know what to do anymore. Hey, Adam, during the Nickelodeon panel at New York City Comic Con, is confirmed SpongeBob and the Patrick Star Show is getting 3 new specials and will be airing November and December of this year. Very cool, man. SpongeBob continues to go strong. It's unbelievable how long that show's been around.
Yeah, I think one of the weirdest things for me was in the Patrick Star Show. They have a character from SpongeBob who's in it, but he's dressed up like the nostalgia critic, and it's just so funny because, like, man, I remember watching him, and then like all the people from That Guy with the Glasses when they were like new to the internet, when like the idea of like online critics was like something like just foreign to like everyone, and it's like now they're so ingrained in pop culture that SpongeBob is making jokes about him.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy now you think about it. I mean, kind of looking back, it's been about 10 years, for me to be doing actually longer than that, about 12 years for me to be doing YouTube. I think I started back in 2012 during Megaforce or right after I can't remember when I started, but yeah, man, the idea of YouTube is vastly different, to certainly say the least, than what it was when I first certainly started doing YouTube. So that is pretty funny that you're right. It is becoming so ingrained in our culture these days that even Patrick Star is picking up on it. So that's pretty fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Enrique also says, I saw the first clips of new seasons of Strange New World.
Ooh, yes.
And Lower Decks. Yeah, I did. They have like what season is Lower Decks going to be going on? Like 4 or something like that?
It's on its 5th and final season. But the showrunners really don't want the show to end. So I'd say that, like, if you're a fan of Lower Decks, make sure you're watching it like as it airs, because they want to keep this going. And what I think what they're hoping for is that if they can't get the show renewed, that they can at least probably convince Paramount to let them do like a special every now and then. So like a Lower Decks movie. Basically just go the route of Next Generation. Once the show ends, just continue it through movies, basically, which I think Lower Decks could do that.
Nice. That's pretty cool, man. That's unbelievable. We also got Enrique says I saw the new trailer for the upcoming new Wolfman movie. It'll be arriving January of 2025. I'm gonna tell you right now, I did see the new trailer. It looks incredible. I love this new trailer compared to the teaser trailer that we ended up getting. So, look, I know it's dropping in January. I know sometimes that tends to say things about movie quality, but I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. I'm curious as to when The Invisible Man came out, because the gentleman that did Invisible Man is doing Wolfman, and he actually came out this week and talked a little bit about if he did get the opportunity to do another one, the next movie he would like to tackle is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Ooh, yes.
I think that would be fantastic, especially now that they're modernizing them the way that they are.
Okay, so a lot of classic horror films, you'll watch them today and they're nowhere near as scary as they were at the time they came out. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, not only is it still scary, but it's still really dark. Like by today's standard, I would say that it's actually a really dark movie.
Small TV spot trailer for upcoming Moana 2 arriving November, and finally Transformers 1, Deadpool and Wolverine and Beetlejuice are finally out on digital.
I should watch Beetlejuice.
I'm a little bit bummed I didn't get a chance to see Transformers 1 in theaters. I really want to see it on the big screen. I've heard so many great things about it, but at least I'll be able to check it out digitally now. You probably have to pay for all these with the exception of maybe Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't know. They might have dropped on Disney Plus. I'm not sure how that works, but we'll see. Movies these days, if you miss it in theaters the first 2 weeks, you're kind of SOL. So Blossom, what's up, Blossom? Good to certainly see you in here today with us. We got Ram Jam. Hey, Adam and Stuart, hope you're doing well. I was on vacation 10 days ago. Went to visit my sister back in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, home of Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. Very nice, man. Very nice. Billy, what's up, Billy? Good to see you. What are your thoughts on the Rio reveal and Agatha all along? My thoughts are OMG. I haven't watched the episode yet, but I already have been kind of spoiled and teased at it from a couple of images and whatever the case may be. And the Funko Pop box revealed it already. So it doesn't really surprise me, but it's still pretty neat. I was hoping she was going to be Morgan Le Fay for some reason. When the season first started, but this fits her beautifully, if you ask me.
Yeah, I had it spoiled for me, so I wasn't shocked, but I do think the way they reveal it was pretty cool. It was definitely a really epic reveal. And let's face it, she's the kind of person you could easily see that Thanos simping over. So I think it all makes sense. Yeah. I would love to see them try to recreate panel for panel from Infinity Gauntlet, like using Josh Brolin and Aubrey Plaza as Death, and just have them reenact some scenes from the comic book specifically. I want to hear Josh Brolin yell at Aubrey Plaza, "I did all this for you and yet you deny me even a smile."
Yeah, man. Thanos got good taste. What can you say?
Oh yeah.
Ram Jam says, I've been watching Dragon Ball Daima. I'm surprised it's on Netflix and Crunchyroll. I think we have an episode 3 review dropping for you guys later on today. I think John Powers and Indy might have done this episode review together. I'm not sure, but we definitely will have a review up for you guys later today.
I think the dub for the first 3 episodes just today dropped on Netflix as well. I could be wrong about that, but I remember hearing Netflix saying that they were going to drop it on the dub on the 27th.
Okay, I'll definitely have to check it out because I had the opportunity to watch them as of yet. Yeah, okay. If anything, that will be dropping for you guys. I am playing some catch up on Penguin and Agatha, but I will have both of those here within the next 2 days. So look forward to that. Blossom, I remember you through the reviews you did for Tokuger. I was talking about how long I've been on here for. Yeah, so whenever Tokuger was, I definitely was doing reviews back then. I love this show. Ram Jam, I remember coming across your channel the first time I submitted a question was about Super Mega Force, who was invited and who wasn't for cameos. Yeah, golly, we've been talking about Power Rangers and just stuff like that in general for quite some time. So
I think for me, it was when you were viewing Beast Morphers. That was when I came across your channel. And then my first live viewer question I sent to you was the Ninja Steel joke, where I'm like, hey, if Steel learned ninjutsu, would his name be ninja steel.
Oh my God. and look where that joke got you. See, look at that.
Yeah,
You're
it got me a job working on Hero Forge.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, let's get into some honorable mentions, man. I know we're running a little bit late. I apologize. We're having some fun. It's been a minute since we've done the show, so it's nice playing some catch up and talking with all you guys again. Stuart, what do you got for honorable mentions here today, man?
All right. So this is a weird one because it's not the kind of stance I would normally take on this kind of thing. But basically there's a little bit of context I got to get through. So Wicked's coming out, and the big thing I do want to point out before I get into this is that I do not doubt, especially with like everything that the two of us have covered, like especially when it comes to Acolyte, when it came to the actress from Obi-Wan, you know, all the like harassment that, you know, specifically women of color tend to get like within the acting world. I don't deny that that's there. That is a huge issue, right?
Yeah.
So, and I have no doubt that the actress from Wicked has also had to deal with this harassment. So if I were to guess what happened, I'm assuming she just saw this on like the worst day and just had like a reaction that to me, I just don't think was justified, but that's why I wanted to talk about it with you. I'm actually curious to hear your thoughts. So for context, this was the original poster for Wicked, you know, for Broadway, right? You know, kind of, basically, I don't know. I'm not a poster guy, so I don't know exactly how to articulate like what they were going for. But yeah, it's a cool looking poster. And then the movie's poster comes out. I got to bring up my screen because for some reason I have not been able to find a downloadable version of this image, so I have to do screen share real quick. There we go. Share. So this is the movie version, which basically, you know, it doesn't hide the eyes and or the face as much like as it did in the poster. It also doesn't really kind of like leave a lot of mystery, whereas like in this one, I think what was kind of cool about it is that she's like whispering into her. There's like a weird smirk, so you're kind of like wondering what's going on here. But this is really like you're not really wondering as much, but it's fine. You know, it's the movie version. But a fan wanted to make his own version of it, and one that was like more accurate to the movie. And then we get this, right? And I guess just, and again, I'm kind of just going on the assumption that she just saw this on the worst day possible. So rather than seeing this as a fan project, she ends up getting really upset with it and saying that, and calling this basically racist for hiding her face, and basically saying it just totally missed the point of what they were going for with the poster. The poster was meant to be an homage, not a copy of the Broadway play, and basically just really going off on this fan, saying that this was, you know, the worst thing that she's like ever seen, basically. And again, I really want to stress, I don't deny that she's actually, I think this is the quote. She says, "This is the wildest, most offensive thing I have seen, equal to to that awful AI of us fighting, equal to people posting. The question is your pussy green. None of this is funny. None of this is cute. It degrades me. It degrades us. The original poster is an illustration. I am a real life human being who chose to look right down the barrel of a camera to you, the viewer, because without words, we communicate with our eyes. Our poster is an homage, not an imitation, to edit my face and hide my eyes, to erase me, and that is just deeply hurtful." So yeah, it was just it's just a reaction I wouldn't have expected, because when I look at this poster, I don't really see them hating the original poster. I don't see anything malicious about it. I just see someone who was a fan of Wicked and wanted to kind of like combine the two. The movie is the movie's poster with the style of the Broadway poster. So yeah, so it was just such a weird reaction for me to hear. So that's why I wanted to bring this up to you. I wanted to make sure I got the full context. I wasn't trying to just make her look like she was completely overreacting and out of line. I wanted to make sure, like I brought up that yes, I do not doubt that she probably had just like the worst day before seeing this, and then that this was probably just the straw. That is what I think happened. But now I want to ask you, Adam, what do you think?
I When I first saw this, I kind of felt the same way, Stu, in the sense of like, wow, where did that outburst come from? Because I don't think it was meant with malicious intent, like you mentioned at all. When this person was putting it together, when I saw it originally, I thought to myself, "Oh, that's actually pretty cool." Like,
Mhm.
I actually like the way that they kind of combined the two posters together to bring this one to us. Um, I don't I really don't know her stance on this in the sense of like maybe she was just having a really bad day because I look, maybe maybe I need a historian to kind of explain to me how this can be taken offensively in a certain way. Um, I mean, I get the idea of like, hey, we put a lot of hard work into this. Our faces deserve to be seen, sort of thing. But yeah, man, I honestly thought that she kind of overreacted, to be honest with you. So I don't know if it was a bad day. Maybe she just views the concept of art, AI. I don't know if AI was used in here. She's trying to kind of take a stance.
Supposedly, okay, so a lot of people are saying this is AI. I don't think it is because this looks too specific to be AI. Because usually AI, if you were to ask it to like print something just
Uh,
like this, it would probably give you something similar, but it definitely wouldn't look exactly like Wicked. You would know immediately. So I don't think this is AI. I think this is photoshopped.
yeah, because even Ariana Grande later later on talked about this. She says she gives her thoughts on the idea that maybe it is AI. I don't know, but it just seems odd to me. I really don't. I mean, she says that it feels like it. What is the word that she used? That that you hide my face, you erase me, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's a poster. I just like it's just a fan poster. Um, I mean, maybe she feels some type of way because they don't show her eyes and they just show her nose and her lips or something. And maybe she took that the wrong way, but it's literally the same poster from the musical, the same way that it was created. So I don't know. Maybe somebody else can personally explain it to me on a personal level as to how she might have taken it. But I too also thought it was an overreaction, Stuart, because I didn't see anything malicious about it, and I don't think the person that came out and did the fan edit ever came out and said anything racial about it or was like, no, I was just trying to pay homage to that type of thing. So I don't know. It was weird. It was weird. I didn't think it was called for personally, but like you said, maybe she was having a really bad day. But yeah, I definitely don't agree with her there.
Yeah, because I've seen. I didn't want to put these posters up because they're just really disgusting. But I've seen some really messed up, like kind of racist posters that like I say fans wrong. Fans have made like when you get like the Little Mermaid and they basically change her skin color and her hair because they're like, oh, but we want it to be accurate. It's like, yeah, that's not okay. You're white facing her. Or the one that like really shocked me because I had actually hadn't seen this until because I wanted to watch a few videos about this before I gave my thoughts. So I watched Double Toasted's video and they gave like a few different like examples of other posters where there was like controversy. And it's like to me this is on a completely different level than white facing Haley from Little Mermaid, and then like with Black Panther where they like basically Photoshop a watermelon like into his hands, like
Ah,
into the posters. Like those two are things where it's
right.
like I can see why an actor would be really offended for them because that actually has malicious intent.
Yeah,
This
like if
one,
I
I just don't see any malicious
yeah,
intent.
me either. I mean, like if they had over exaggerated her nose, if they over exaggerated her lips or anything like that and hid the rest of her face, maybe there's an argument there, but I don't see any of that in here. I mean, I guess maybe just from like, I mean, if we really want to go just like historical references and stuff, I mean, the idea of not being seen has definitely been something that I think as African Americans, they have definitely been, we've definitely have been preaching like for years. So maybe she's holding on to a little bit of something like that in the sense of, you're trying to cover my face, but it just seems like a big leap. Like, girl, that's a leap to me.
Mhm.
Like I get what you're saying, But in this context, I think it's a little bit of a way too big of a leap. I don't know who she is personally as a person. I've never spoken with her. I don't know what her personality is. I don't know, upbringing or anything like that. Frank Wood, he says, Cynthia's come on, is my thing working or not?
Oh, there we go. I starting to get back to normal.
Oh, sorry. Love Cynthia's talent, but I think it was too much of a protest. She's the lead of one of the possibly biggest musicals ever. Her face will be seen. Trust me. Yeah, her face is definitely going to be seen. Like, it's literally just it's a poster. It's not like it's an official poster that's being put out nationwide. You know what I mean? To hide who you certainly are. And again, I don't think it was a malicious intent at all. It's just like, hey, this is very similar to the musical poster. Let me just try and merge these two together. And so I think it was something innocent and thrown out of proportion. So I don't know if Cynthia will apologize or, pull back what she said or whatever the case may be. But yeah, it definitely took me aback too, Stuart.
Okay. My other honorable mention, this one will be fast, and it's not drama related. So I saw Venom the other day.
Oh, okay.
And have you had a chance to see Venom 3 yet?
No, I might check it out here in the next day or two, though.
All I'm gonna say is that opening 2 minutes was metal AF.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, like holy crap, when they introduced the main villain, his homeworld, it just looks so freaking cool, like something ripped out of Lord of the Rings. I love it. And then the rest of the movie was, it was fine. It was exactly what I expected. If you've seen Venom 1 and 2, you know exactly what to expect from Venom 3. It's a fun movie. Has problems, of course, but I didn't go into this expecting Casablanca. So
yeah, I don't know if I've seen one critic that's like, yeah, this is a good movie and fun. I just see it's fun. I see a lot of it's fun, y'all. So yeah, it looks like it's probably just a funny popcorn flick if you guys want to have a good little time at the movies, for sure.
Exactly.
Other honorable mention for you guys. I thought this was actually fascinating, Stuart. 28 years later, one of the actors, what is his name? Oh, Ralph Fiennes, I believe, or maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong, had the opportunity to let us know a couple of new details about the film. He says it's 3 films, of which 2 have been shot. So he's kind of confirming that two of these, 2 out of the 3 from this trilogy have already wrapped filming. He says Britain is 28 years into a terrible plague of infected people who are violent, rabid humans with a few pockets of uninfected communities. And it centers on a young boy who wants to find a doctor to help his dying mother. He leads his mother through this beautiful northern English terrain, but of course around hides and forests and hills and woods are the infected, but finds a doctor who is a man we might think is going to be weird and odd, but actually is a force for good. So he gives us a little bit more insight in regards to what we can expect from 28 years later. But I think for me, Stuart, the biggest thing was that the second one's already done filming, which is kind of crazy to me. I mean, talk about production just boom, moving smoothly, right? Danny Boyle, I think, did the first one. The director, I can't remember her name, from the Marvels, just did filmed the second one. I don't know who's directing the third one or not, but the fact that they already got 2 of the films wrapped up is pretty astounding to me.
That is. I totally forgot that this was actually going to be more than one movie. I actually thought it was just going to be one sequel, basically 28 years later. But yeah, I really like the first one. I still haven't seen 28 Weeks Later, but I don't really have any particular need to watch it, honestly. But yeah.
What movie? Which last one?
Well, I never saw the original.
The second one?
Yeah, it's 28 Weeks Later.
28 Weeks Later.
Yeah, but I love the first one, and I can't wait to see this trilogy because it's supposed to be by the same, the first one's by the same director, and it looks like they're actually planning ahead. I mean, obviously they are if they've already filmed the first 2 movies.
Yeah, they seem like they're they know what they're doing there, which is always pleasant to know that they got all their ducks in a row. We also got our very first glimpses, behind the scenes pictures, believe it or not, from the upcoming Prime Video series Spider-Noir, Stuart.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've had the opportunity to see them, but let's go ahead and pop these up, man. Our very first look at the Spider-Noir costume, and it looks incredible, Stuart. I love it. Look, I'm telling you, ever since the I don't know how many years ago, where in the comic books, Peter Parker dropped the Spider-Man persona, and I think he wind up taking on like other personas. I can't remember what the other superhero names that he created, but I think Spider-Man Noir was one of them that kind of came out of the storyline. And then we eventually wind up seeing this character pop up in something like this Into the Spider-Verse, played by Nicolas Cage, and he's become really a fan favorite for some people in here. But he's getting his own series. Nicolas Cage is going to be playing this character. And we got ourselves our very first looks as they are in fact filming the series. I can't remember what the time period is, what the 1920s or 1930s, I think it is. It might be the 1930s if I'm not mistaken, but we got some fantastic glimpses in here. Stuart, one of the things that I've been asking for is I need this series to be in black and white. Do you think we're going to get a black and white, or do you think it's going to be color like we're seeing here?
Looking at that costume, I hope it's not in color, because not that it looks bad. I don't want to make it sound like I don't like the costume. It looks fine. I just think it would look so much cooler in black and white. And plus, like, with this being filmed during the daytime, again, we're seeing this as like set photos. This isn't actually what it looks like through the camera, but it just doesn't look in the daytime, especially like, with that kind of outfit. It just doesn't look as engaging as I could see it looking if it was in black and white, or if it was shot at night. Yeah, but of course there's a green screen, so there's going to be obviously a lot of heavy post-production on this photo. But yeah, I hope it's black and white.
Yeah, I hope it is too. But some great first images, man. If you wanted to get people hyped for what this show is going to be, I'm honestly all on board right now. So great stuff.
Yes.
And then last but not least, I did want to just bring up some updates for the DCEU. I know we didn't get the chance to kind of cover this during the last weekend because we were off, but I still wanted to discuss some of the things that James Gunn himself wind up saying, or at least get a better idea as to where some of the projects that he has in store, where they're at, and just some of his thoughts are as of right now. So I'm just going to go through. He's got a Supergirl update, and then he's got a Lanterns update as well that talks a little bit more about the Jon Stewart casting and stuff. But let's dive into the Supergirl segment first, if this will play for me, because my internet.
On Supergirl, we have a director, we have a Supergirl, obvious.
Oopsie. If it'll let me. If it doesn't, I apologize, guys.
Yes. What can you tease about the story we're going to see for Super?
Oh God, it's going to be one of those days, Stuart. I had another video planned to play too from Tom Holland.
Supergirl on the big screen.
Well,
yeah, it's definitely going to be one of those days, bro.
So, Anna and Craig, the right.
Damn it.
It just doesn't want us to play.
It just does not. No, not today, brother.
Were you able to go to this panel, by the way?
Spearheading this.
What'd you say?
Were you able to make it to this panel, by the way? Well,
no.
Oh wait, no, that's right.
I wasn't there.
I got my conventions mixed up.
We start shooting in England.
God damn it. They're not going to let me play this, Stuart. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. Anyway, one of the things that I wanted to say was he does talk a little bit about Lanterns. And I think one of the things that he said that really won him over when it comes to Aaron Pierre was the screen test between him and Kyle Chandler. And he says he was just blown away. He said, I could watch these two just be on screen together all day long. He's like, I don't even care what they're saying. They just had that level of chemistry on screen. And I think that says a lot in regards to just the type of performance, how well these two men clearly get along. But the fact that he, um, people always wonder, like, what is it that puts somebody kind of over the top when you've got somebody like Stephen James compared to Aaron Pierre, who are like the two finalists in the show, in the series. Um, I How hard it must be, I think, for James Gunn and even the casting director to have to choose, and like looking at every little detail about what you really want to get out of the Jon Stewart character, and for it to really kind of come down to the chemistry test between them and Kyle Chandler. I think kind of speaks volumes. And the fact that even somebody like James Gunn, who has been in these casting rooms, who has been doing films for years, to kind of gush a little bit about what he saw between Aaron and Kyle Chandler, I think for me really gives me hope that this is going to be a really, really enjoyable season, to certainly say the least.
Definitely. I also was kind of surprised. One of the things he said, like, about Aaron Pierre, was that he actually wanted to work with him on a DC project even before he was cast in Lantern. So this wasn't just a kind of throw one at the dartboard and see what it lands on. This was like, oh no, I wanted to work with him. Let's see if this is the right fit for him. And apparently was, because he got the job.
Yeah, I heard he said that in the panel too, and again, this is why I really wish that we could have put it up, but he mentions that Aaron Pierre was actually almost cast as Adam Warlock in Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah.
And he's definitely had his eye on Aaron Pierre for quite some time. And so the fact that Aaron Pierre made it all the way down the line here to be Jon Stewart, I think is pretty fantastic. I wind up seeing him in the Rebel damn it, I was gonna say Rebel Ridge movie on Netflix. And he's so good in it, man. The movie itself is okay. I mean, it's definitely enjoyable. It's definitely got its intense moments for sure. But performance wise, from Aaron Pierre, I was really pleased, and I can see why he might have gotten this role.
I find it just hilarious though. Man, I'm trying to look up the actor's name. Oh, Will Poulter. Yeah, Will Poulter, the guy that they ended up having play Adam Warlock. It's just so funny because before that movie, I always just like kind of saw him as like kind of a character actor, as like kind of the nerd stereotype. So I would have like, if I had known that, like, if I had known Aaron Pierre was like auditioning for the role of Adam Warlock and that he was up against Will Poulter, like those were the two, I would have assumed Aaron Pierre, because I'm like, okay, he has the body of a character like Adam Warlock. And obviously he ended up, Will Poulter ended up being a great casting for Adam Warlock. And just, man, James Gunn is a genius. If he could take like these actors that you just wouldn't normally see in these kind of roles, but he can like make them work like as well as they did, because I thought he was like an amazing Adam Warlock. And it gets me excited to see what Aaron Pierre is going to do as Green Lantern.
And I think for me too, I think it also goes to show, like, I mean, look, just how different Aaron Pierre and Will Poulter are, right? Like, and the fact that they were almost like picked literally to play the same character, and the fact that like, so when, to me, that just goes to show you, like, when they go in here for their casting, they really don't have your race or your gender or anything in mind. It's really the idea of like, who's going to bring this character to life as best as they possibly can. And the fact that Will Poulter wind up pulling it out, to me, is pretty remarkable, you know? So I think it's pretty eye-opening in regards to how casting works behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that will do it for our honorable mention segment of the day.
I think even James Gunn kind of said, because of the Illuminati, they made an article about what they were looking for Adam Warlock, how specifically they wanted someone who was white to play the character. And James Gunn is like, Adam Warlock is an alien. Why would I give a crap about their ethnicity?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys, and with that out of the way, we will be getting into our main topics of the day. Are you ready to go ahead and dive into these with me, Stu?
Always.
And if you can handle the banners for me, that would be great. I think we have everything ready to go. So let's go ahead and dive into the news, ladies and gentlemen. First up, as you guys saw at the top of our thumbnail here, it's the 10th anniversary for John Wick, baby. Keanu Reeves franchise has come a mighty, mighty long way, to certainly say the least. We got 4 movies out of this. We got ourselves a spin-off series in the Continental, which was a limited series. Although if you add the, I don't want to say the showrunner, but if you add the creator of John Wick, Chad Stileski, he'll probably tell you the Continental's got nothing to do with this universe that I've certainly created, which is why they've paid him millions of dollars to certainly spearhead the remainder of the John Wick franchise, certainly going forward, to make sure that it certainly stays true to the vision that he and Keanu Reeves certainly had for this project. And I found it interesting. Chad Stileski this week kind of came out to celebrate the 10th anniversary and really wanted to talk a little bit about the idea of like what's to come. You know, after everything that you've achieved and that you've created, what do you have in store next? And it definitely seems as though they have no plans on slowing down anytime soon. Let me see if I can pull this up here for you guys. Actually, I wanted to ask you something here too, Stuart. Hold on, let me see if I can pull this
I
up
just gotta
here.
say, it's funny, like, you know, oh crap, actually, I don't know if I should say this because you haven't seen John Wick 4 yet, have you?
I have not. I was going to try and watch it last night in preparation for today's show, but a part of me was just like, I was tired, bro. But you can go ahead and spoil it, man. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. John Wick is one of those rare franchises that like can not only keep going after the main character, like the title character is killed off, but apparently can like actually have zero plans on stopping after he's killed off. And yet I'm still excited to see what they got in store because so far, yeah, like they haven't let me down with any of the John Wick movies. And then the trailer for the ballerina looks really awesome. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited too to kind of see what they do when it comes to the ballerina. He's definitely going to be taking a big, big role, to certainly say the least. But let's talk a little bit about what is next for this franchise. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. They had the opportunity to sit down and talk with Chad Stileski. I'm not going to read the entire article for yourself, but if you want to go ahead and find it, it is the Hollywood Reporter. It is titled, I think, John Wick co-creator Chad Stileski talks the future of John Wick. So let's go ahead and bring this up here. We'll read a little bit about what the article has to say here. It says in 2023's John Wick Chapter 4, Stahelski buried Reeves' latest iconic action character in the ground, at least for the time being. But the franchise has never been more alive than it is right now. The Len Wise directed spinoff Ballerina, starring Ana de Armas, just dropped the trailer for its June 2025 release. There's also a prequel anime feature is also currently in development and will finally show at least some of John's storied impossible task that permitted him to retire for love. Additionally, Robert Levine's spin-off series Under the High Table is being developed for the universe's supporting characters, while Donnie Yen's own spin-off movie about his Chapter 4 character Kane is actively being written. It says Stahelski, who earlier this year expanded his role with Lionsgate to oversee the entire franchise, also assisted Wiseman during 2 weeks of additional photography for Ballerina. This is what he says. He says, we went back in with my writing team that had done John Wick Chapter 4 and my stuntmen. And he says, we just gave it a little shine together with Len and what he had already done. It wasn't that much. Everybody's like, Stahelski says before referencing the claims that Ballerina needed months worth of additional photography. He says, no, we just went in for a couple of weeks. We changed some of the action sequences and made up some time that Len just didn't have. He didn't have enough time to do some of the bigger shots that it deserved. There was weather thing in Austria, so we had to go back in for that. So it's shaping up pretty nicely. So it does seem as though action sequence wise for Ballerina, Chad Stahelski has definitely taken the lead in here. It seems as though that's pretty much what he's kind of worked on, were the big action sequences and maybe some of the I don't want to say some of the plot, but when you say, we went back in with my writing team, gave it a little shine, clearly maybe some bits and pieces here. I am kind of curious as to, because in the trailer, Stuart, we see John Wick arrive in the trailer and them having a moment. That is something that I wonder if it was added. Like, I wonder if Chad in his reshoots added Keanu Reeves into the film a little bit, or if that was something that was already kind of pre-filmed. Because I would think Chad would really want this movie to connect as much as it possibly can to John Wick, because I think the title of the movie is literally From the World of John Wick, Ballerina. So I do wonder if some of these small rewrites had anything to do with further involvement from Keanu Reeves in here, and clearly some of the big action pieces for sure.
If I was a guessing man, I would assume that he already had some, he already had that, like, at least one of the shots that he's probably going to be in was already filmed for it. But I think they just wanted to add a tiny bit more during the reshoot. So I think we'll see an extra, like, scene with him that wasn't originally in the original version of the movie. But that'd be my guess if I was a betting man. As for what I think he did polish, I think that the main thing that he and his writers did was just polish the basically kind of world building, just to make sure like all the continuity lined up with the other John Wick movies, along with like the timeline, to make sure that like they don't reference something that contradicts something we've already seen from the John Wick movies. So I don't think it's like they changed the story or anything like that. I think they just really wanted to make sure it lined up with John Wick's continuity, because if I'm not mistaken, I think that was like one of the issues with the Continental, is that it just had a few too many like plot inconsistencies when you look at it in the John Wick timeline. And I think they just wanted to make sure they didn't repeat that mistake.
Yeah, you could absolutely be right in regards to sure. That would make sense, because it definitely felt like John or Chad certainly was not pleased with the direction that the Continental certainly went in. He's like, that's got nothing to do with us, man. So he's definitely trying to distance himself as best as he can. The article does go on to say here, it says, as for development of John Wick Chapter 5, that subject is a bit more complicated. Chapter 4 received the franchise's highest marks from critics and audiences, as well as the franchise record for a worldwide box office with 440 million. So Stahelski recognizes that there's still an appetite for the character, but he also believes in some respects that Chapter 4 is the conclusion of John's story. That said, he's still come up with a few variations that would take the fifth installment in a different direction without being a cheese out to the poignant ending of Chapter 4. He says that the honest truth is you don't top John Wick Chapter 4. You simply don't. There's no topping what we did. That's the end. That's the deal. He says that's what we found closure for. Look, sometimes we'll keep things in development. Sometimes we'll use development as an exercise. But is there an opportunity to do John Wick 5? Of course there is, whether it's for money or for creativity. He says, Jesus, in the last 3 years, I've already had 3 or 4 versions of John Wick 5. They were different ways to crack the story, but almost a mental exercise for me. He says it would not be part of that John Wick Chapter 4 storyline. It would not be what you think it is. As far as John Wick Chapter 4, we've peaked. At least I have. That's my apex. We ended it. It's a complete story. I watch it now and I feel very happy about it, but we wouldn't try to outdo it. I wouldn't try to add on to that. It'd have to be a completely different storyline. How do you feel about that, Stu?
I like that. I mean, okay, so I assume this isn't what he's talking about, but there was like kind of a weird cliffhanger or not weird. It made sense in the context, but yeah, there was a bit of a cliffhanger at the end of John Wick 4 that really set up another spinoff movie not related to the ballerina. So I hope that gets continued in. But that being said, though, so I'm sure that's not what he was referring to in terms of like not trying to go from there, but like in terms of like saying that we peaked with John Wick 4 and we don't want to try to get bigger. I kind of see what you mean there. I think that was like one mistake that Marvel made after Endgame, is that you had suddenly standalone movies trying to one up Endgame, and it just made it so I think that a lot of them just really didn't need to be as big in scope as they were trying to be. Like for example, like Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, Love and Thunder, and then the last the final battle in Shang-Chi. So I kind of see them like not wanting to make that mistake, wanting to make sure we kind of reel it back in a little bit, make sure that we're focusing on the story. And even though they say they have no plans on trying to top John Wick 4, I'm sure that like if this franchise keeps going and people still love these, eventually we'll probably get another movie in this world that he'll probably go back on. A little part of me kind of wants to think that the reshoots now, after hearing that quote, were because the action scenes were too good and it topped John Wick 4 and he didn't want that. Part of me wants to believe that's why they did the reshoots.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, no, look, I have like, because of the fact that I personally haven't had the opportunity to check out John Wick 4, I don't know how I feel about what he stated there as far as like the story is kind of closed and come to an end. But if he is working on a John Wick 5, it seems like he's active. I mean, the fact that he said he's got like 3 or 4 different scripts that he's kind of been putting together to kind of crack open a new story, yeah, it does make me wonder how that would connect to anything, or if this is like, even though he says like the John Wick 4 was the ending of that storyline, like would a John Wick 5 introduce us to a brand new character? I have even no idea where they would honestly go, to be quite frank with you. So I don't know. I don't know if Chad, despite having 3 or 4 different scripts and still clearly kind of like working on something, I do wonder if we ever will get it, because it does seem as though he's got his intention on doing other things right now. Even the interviewer says it sounds like an epilogue type thing. And he says right now we're knee deep in development on a feature anime about John Wick. He says it's a prequel to the movies, which is awesome. It's fun that it's in a different medium also. He says it's John's impossible task that allowed him to retire. He says, ish. He says, you're pretty right on. But it's animated film. It's meant to be fun. Some of the prequels and sequels that you see in other franchises were not meant to be built that way. We just want to have fun. We want to have fun with the Wick world, but we've already capped it on the end in regards to chapter 4. So let's go back and use a different medium. I think the idea of an anime feature would be fantastic, honestly.
Clearly, his final job was so impossible they couldn't possibly film it on camera. It had to be animated.
Yeah, right.
That's what I got from that.
Yes, that's a great, bro. That's a great description. Because I mean, when you talk about impossible task and seeing all the stuff that John Wick has had to go through in all these movies, I can almost guarantee you the stuff that we've seen him go through is nowhere near what he had to go through in order just to get out of that. And so, yeah, man, you might be absolutely right that it's just so big and bombastic and impossible that it's like, yeah, man, we got to use animation for this one because people won't believe it any other way. He also goes on to say, he says, but that's also what's fun about the TV show, talking about Under the High Table that Rob Levine, the showrunner, has designed. It's in the John Wick universe. It's about all the ancillary characters other than John Wick. So you can explore those things that we couldn't do in the features. To keep churning out episodes of John Wick's adventures seem a little false to us, but to explain or explore different aspects of the world and different aspects of John Wick before the films and through a different medium, whether it's anime or TV, that feels fun. We can be a little bit more crazy and nutty in the anime, and we can be a lot more explicit in our storytelling and world building on the TV show. So those are exciting to us without seeming repetitive, and that's what we're putting our energies into right now. to me right now, Stuart, Under the High Table, the way that he talks about it just makes me feel like remember that show, The Continental? No. This is the show. This is the one that you should be watching, sort of thing. We just want to erase that from our mind because look, the Continental used those ancillary characters. Maybe not to the best of their abilities, to certainly say the least. And it seems like Chad is now like him and Rob Levine are like, let's show them how it's really supposed to be done when it comes to something like Under the High Table. But he calls it explicit in regards to their storytelling and world building for a TV show. So I'm on board, man. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I've loved everything John Wick that we've gotten so far. The trailer for this new one looks great, and then yes, an anime John Wick. My only thing is that I hope they get a good studio to produce it, so that we get some really good animation. We've seen some great ones out there, especially like some of the ones on Netflix, like how great the animation can get. Like we get the Blue Eye Samurai, and then oh god, what's that? The kind of fantasy one. I cannot remember the name of it, but it's
Arcane is
yes,
fantastic.
Arcane. Yes. Yeah. So those are like the two big ones. Like if we get like an animation studio, like one of them to work on a John Wick anime, oh my god.
Yeah, that would be pretty impressive. And then just to round this off, he does say, I just spoke to Halle Berry. She sounds eager to get back into the game as Sophia. He says, I'd work with Halle any chance I get. She's always on our mind. There really isn't anybody from John Wick that we don't love and wouldn't try to bring back in other mediums that we try to do. She's awesome. They also ask a little bit about the Donnie Yen spinoff movie. He says these are all going on at the same time. The Donnie Yen feature we're building right now. We're in the middle of writing it right now. He says, so active development. He says, see, you're catching on, man. So yeah, they're definitely look, the world of John Wick, ladies and gentlemen, is not going anywhere. Now, whether or not that means, do we get to see Keanu Reeves again? That I don't know. Is he going to pop up as cameos in some of these projects? Possibly. But I'm gonna be honest. I'm really looking forward to all of these. Ballerina, the Donnie Yen spinoff film, even the anime movie, Under the High Table. I love the fact that the interviewer asked about Halle Berry, because if there was anybody that I walked away from John Wick 3 really wanting to know more about, it's her. And what I personally wouldn't mind seeing too, if they're not going to do an Under the High Table, like maybe the Under the High Table series can utilize somebody like Halle Berry. I don't know when it's going to take place in the timeline wise, but I really want to see that story unfold. Clearly her and John have a past together. The idea of trying to like, where's Holly's or where's Sophia's daughter at sort of mentality too. If they want to make that into like, I think the idea of like a John Wick anthology animated series would be really cool, where you can tell like individual, like one-off stories from some of these characters that we've been introduced to. I think that would be a really cool route to go also if they wanted to.
Yeah. I also, because like I know we technically got a comic book about it already, but
For what?
Oh, I was gonna say for a John Wick, I would love to see like an origin story. Like I know we technically got a comic book about it, but as far as I know, I don't think any of the writers of John Wick actually worked on it. So I mean, if we wanted to do like an animated origin story for John Wick, or heck, I mean, I know, Keanu Reeves doesn't age, so you could probably just have to reprise the role. But if you wanted to continue the character John Wick with a different actor, you could do that too. The possibilities are endless. And what I love is that because this world is so unique, you don't have to rely on Keanu Reeves, but he's there if you need him to, because he seems like he's totally down to come back whenever they ask.
Yeah, I mean, look, Chad and Keanu are definitely helming this together. I don't think anything that Chad does for John Wick doesn't get told to Keanu, doesn't get Keanu's approval either. And it's just amazing that Keanu Reeves, all this time in his career, has managed to create another blossoming franchise out of nothing in regards to John Wick. We got 4 incredible movies out of them, now creating spin-offs. The movies continue to make more and more money each and every time. This is a very successful franchise. So I'm in full support of Chad and Keanu continuing this as best as they can. And the fact that they have as much hands-on experience with this just allows me to know that the quality the quality behind all this is going to be really up there when it winds up dropping. But guys, look, you hear all this news, all the potential 10 years in, which is, to me, Stuart, it's just crazy to think we're 10 years into this franchise already. But what projects out of the John Wick that we talked about are you really looking forward to? Do you have any other ideas for a John Wick franchise that maybe Chad hasn't kind of brought up yet? We definitely would love to know your guys' levels of enjoyment of this franchise and any ideas and things that you're looking forward to. So certainly let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that, Stuart, we will move on to our next topic, which, you know, to say, Stuart, that there is a revival for things like Predator and Alien, I think is an understatement. I think the movie Prey really surprised a lot of people, modernizing the Predator films for a new generation here. Same thing with Fede Alvarez in regards to his recent film Alien Romulus, which I was certainly a big fan of, kind of modernizing it while at the same time taking us back to what made Alien great, whether that be from a cinematography or a directing kind of standpoint, and really hearkening back to James Cameron and Ridley Scott. It seems as though both of these franchises are really looking up. I mean, we got Predator. The Predator already announced a brand new film that they're going to be doing in Predator Badlands, which is going to be bringing back the director and writer of Prey to do a new Predator film. And we also know that we got Noah Hawley from Fargo and Legion that's going to be doing an Alien series titled Alien Earth. So even with all of that, Stuart, you would think that, man, they've got a lot on their plate right now. But guess what, Stuart? There is more to come. As this week, we had, I think he was the boss of 20th Century Studios, Steve Asbell, came out and discussed what they're going to be doing going forward for both of these franchises. And I think it's going to be pretty surprising and pretty promising for some people. So let's go ahead and dive into this. This comes to us also from The Hollywood Reporter. A secret Predator movie, an Alien sequel, and Speed 3 are on the table. I mean, we just got done talking a little bit about Keanu Reeves.
Oh my gosh, is he got to come back for a third Speed movie?
Look, man, you know, they just celebrated, I don't know what anniversary it was, but I literally read a report that Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock had a Q&A for, I guess I don't want to say re-released it, but they played the first Speed movie again. And Sandra Bullock made a comment along the lines of, you know, I don't know if anybody's brave enough to do a Speed 3. And I think in this article, I think he says, no, we're brave enough. So look, I'm not going to lie. I love their chemistry in the first one. I honestly, and I kid you not, Stuart, when I watched that movie in theaters, I just thought to myself, like, there's no way that these two don't become some sort of like Hollywood couple, because their chemistry was like so good on screen together. And I was really disappointed when they weren't brought back for Speed 2. But all these years later, I need a Speed 3, especially based off of where these two have come in their careers, how much people love Sandra Bullock, man. And we're definitely in a Keanu-sance right now also. So anything Keanu Reeves touches, I think people are going to go ahead and watch. Give me that Speed 3, man. I'm completely there. Would you like to see one all these years later?
You know, I gotta be honest, I have not seen Speed 1. But yes, if a Speed 3 comes out, I will definitely watch Speed 1 to prep myself for it. I probably will skip Speed 2 because I have not heard a single good thing about it.
You can forget. I mean, even if they did a Speed 3, maybe they can maybe a one-line drop reference to Speed 2. But yeah, I don't, it's been years since I've seen the second one. So yeah, just ignore that one, Stuart. Just ignore that one.
Fun fact though, I hear like the way Speed 2 was made is that the producer of the movie had a fever dream about a boat crashing into a dock. And it was like, you need to make a Speed 2 and this is how it has to end.
Wow. Okay. So he had the ending first. Okay.
Exactly.
I love it.
He had the ending in mind. He's like, someone write a movie around this.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Guiding 20th century is the steady hand of Steve Asbell, longtime Fox executive who became president of the division in 2020, just when the pandemic hit. Oh, great time to start a new job, buddy. Sorry about that. He says, let me see if I can get down to like the nitty gritty of this stuff. Let's see, where's the questions? There were so many things this summer, yada. Sorry, guys, I was kind of getting this stuff ready. Where is the balance between original and franchise plays? He says right now it's looking like next year, half the slate. Job one was figuring out these franchise movies first and coming up with the right cadence of Avatar, Planet of the Apes, Alien, and Predator specifically. Getting those right was the first part, which we've done now, which I would completely agree that they have. And so that idea is to be able to say, okay, we know that the Avatar movies are coming. We know now about Predator. There will be another Apes in 2027, let's just say. So knowing where we can plan those franchises, it helps us look to see and ask what kind of original movies in terms of genre do we want to test the marketplace with. He says, how do you decide which ones go streaming and which ones don't? I think this is interesting, like just from like a CEO perspective to feel like, how do they even figure this stuff out? He says the landscape has changed so that theatrical is back. There's a lot more opportunities in theatrical films, but since the consolidation of Disney Plus and Hulu, there's a tremendous audience for streaming films. There's still that thing with streaming movies where we can really take chances with it. They can sort of be what they need to be. They don't necessarily have to hit that theatrical threshold of how much is it and how many screens. They said Alien Romulus was supposed to go straight to streaming, but changed right before filming. So what prompted that change? He says,
that surprises me. I'm curious if it would have had the same budget, because like Alien Romulus looks like it just, you know, with how much CG and practical effects was mixed into it, it looks like it was not a cheap movie. So I'm curious if they would have been okay with like spending that much money on that movie if it was if they kept it like on a streaming service.
I want to say it was a pretty cheap movie, actually. Go ahead and look up Alien Romulus budget. I want to say it was like, maybe I'm tripping, 50 million. I might be tripping.
If it was a cheap budget, then this director is freaking God.
Yeah, I might be wrong, but I don't know why I thought it was made for cheaply.
Oh, okay. So wow, that actually is pretty cheap by today's standard. It was $80 million.
$80 million. Okay.
Which, I mean, you know, most Marvel movies, for example, are like a little over $100 million.
Well, lately they've been like 200 million lately.
True. Yeah. So yeah, so it's not like a low budget, but it's definitely smaller than I expected. I was thinking they at least had to spend like 120 million on this. Man, it just makes me wonder, like, how does this movie look so good, but then you get like other action movies with more money and they look like shit? Like, damn.
I don't know what to tell you. I think maybe just like contracts, how much they're paying some of these performers and stuff. But yeah, and that's that. I think that's a complaint with Hollywood. Is like Alien Romulus, $80 million was great film for such a cheap budget. Like sometimes is almost like no excuse. You know, it's almost like the studios just want to spend money. And I think us as fans need to really clamp down on these studios for not spending so much money, because trust me when I say large budgets for movies trickle down to us as the consumers to higher ticket prices. So yeah, man, stop making all these expensive ass movies when you could make an alien for $80 million. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. What's the next step for Alien though? He says we're working on the sequel idea now. We haven't closed our deal with Fede Alvarez yet, but we are going to. And he has an idea that we're working on. He says the two survivors, Rain and Andy, played by Callie and David, were highlights of the film. And so I always think of it like, wow, where do people want to see them go next? We know there's going to be aliens. We know there's going to be great horror set pieces, but I fell in love with both of them, and I want to see what their story is. So yeah, he talks a little bit about that.
I gotta be honest about something, because I loved Alien Romulus, so you know, don't get me wrong there. But I just think it worked really as a standalone movie. I don't think we really need an Alien Romulus 2. And I would kind of prefer, they just instead of continuing that, if they kind of went back to Prometheus, if we had, because like I get why they haven't, because Alien Covenant was not a good movie, and then Prometheus wasn't the success that they were hoping it was going to be. But I do think, in the case like something like an Alien franchise with something like Prometheus, I think there's potential for the third time to be a charm. So I think that instead of an Alien Romulus sequel, I would kind of like them to go back to the Prometheus storyline and try to at the very least just wrap that up. So and go with James Cameron, or not, sorry, getting my directors mixed up, Ridley Scott's plan of trying to bring it full circle into the Alien franchise, because it was supposed to end apparently tying directly into the first Alien movie.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I saw the ending of Covenant, I thought to myself, okay, so how does this connect with everything else? So yeah, I agree with you. I would like to see some level of ending for Covenant, but I still wouldn't an Alien Romulus storyline sequel, just because I do think Alien Romulus' storyline is left a little bit open-ended in the sense of where these characters going, sort of thing, what are their futures, and whether they bump into something else. I would be really fascinated to kind of see. Who knows, maybe an Alien Romulus will tap into what the story of Covenant should have been from like a historical perspective, like catching us up as to where all these alien pods or whatever were certainly taken and stuff. Like maybe it can fill in the blanks for us.
Okay, I can see that.
Here's a big one. The interviewer says, will the next Predator movie get a theatrical release? And it says, mind you, editor's note, this conversation took place before Predator Badlands, before Disney dated Predator Badlands. So will the next Predator movie get a theatrical release? He says yes and no. And the interviewer says, you're killing me here, man. He says, yes, a Predator movie will be released theatrically. He says, I'll tell you very simply. After Prey became a success, Dan Trachtenberg came back and said he didn't want to do a Prey 2. And we're like, what do you want to do? And he rattled off a bunch of ideas that were really crazy, but really cool. We've actually done, oh, damn it, where'd it go? I just had the interview. Sorry, how these pages be just jumping on me sometimes. Let me get back to the Predator thing. Oh, he says, come on. He says, he asked Dan Trachtenberg, what do you want to do? And he rattled off a bunch of ideas that were really crazy, but really cool. We've actually done 2 of them. 2 are coming out next year. One I can't talk about yet, but the other one is the live action Predator film with Ellie Fanning that just wrapped in New Zealand. That'll be out theatrically sometime next year. So that's the Predator Badlands. So Predator Badlands with Ellie Fanning has just wrapped in New Zealand. But Stuart, he's talking about a second Predator film. And he says, the interviewer says, you're blowing my mind right now. Let's tackle this one at a time. One Predator movie is coming out theatrically. He says, yes, it's titled Badlands, and it is an absolute bonkers idea. It is a sci-fi thing, but it's not what everybody thinks it is. And I mean, it's awesome. It's so nuts, but in Dan, we trust. He says, now, you said there's a second Predator film, and he says there's a second Predator movie that we have different plans for. Dan is actually directing both films. So there's a secret Predator movie. Yes, there's a secret Predator movie that will come out before the theatrical one that I can't say anything about. And he says, and then he goes on to ask, will we eventually see another Alien versus Predator? And he says, probably.
Yes. See, See, that's a franchise that like they haven't done a good movie yet, but I still see potential. Like, I mean, I thought the first Alien versus Predators was okay, and the sequel was really, really, really terrible. But I think there's potential in the third movie. I think that you just got to give it to the right creative team, and I just don't think we've gotten that quite yet.
You might be right in that regards. And then last but not least, he says at the 30th anniversary screening of Speed last week or a few weeks ago, Sandra Bullock said Hollywood may not be brave enough. And he says, response, he says, Hollywood is brave enough. We are brave enough. We are sitting by the phones. LOL. So he says that's one of the last movies that we haven't remade. And so yeah, man. I am excited for this, Stuart. Like I'm really excited for the future of Predator and Aliens. In fact, so much if we want to speculate a little bit about what this potential secret Predator film could be, Gizmodo.com or actually says we heard a juicy rumor about that secret Predator movie. It says, let's see here. What do they think it is? Now we just might know what it is. Multiple sources told IO9 that the secret Predator project is in fact an animated feature. The twist, though, is that it's almost an anthology telling 3 separate stories of Predators fighting warriors in multiple eras. One is potentially pirates, one is potentially samurai, and there's a third one too. IO9 reached out to Disney for comment on this, but had not heard back as of this publication. Yeah, he says, although we're confident in our sources, still consider this a rumor. That's what they say.
I hope that's real because that is the perfect direction for like a Predator movie. Because yeah, they're always all over the place, different timelines. Like I think I haven't seen Predator 2, so definitely correct me if I'm wrong here. But you know, you got Predator 1, which took place in the present, Predator 2, which was like in the future, correct?
I can't remember how far into the future that it was. It might have been, but it was still grounded in Earth. Like it was definitely a different place, though. I mean, it wasn't like in the jungles. It was literally like in the city.
Yeah. But then like then you have Predators, which is like in the future, and then you have like the Prey movies, of course, way far into the past. And then
which I
all
thought
the
was
comic
cool.
book, and then all the comic book spin-offs, which go everywhere. So I think like if you want to do it that way, that is like kind of brilliant, especially if you want to go in the route of animation.
You know, I think Prey worked for me because of the fact that it was in a completely different time period, and I think we get the opportunity to see just how far back these aliens, or I should say predators, really do go, and to kind of see them in that Native American environment was really appealing to me. So you want to see a predator in a swashbuckling pirates type of environment, like the concept of that just seems really bonkers to me, to be honest with you. I am a sucker for period pieces, so to kind of see how different warriors during that time, I mean, a samurai facing off against our predator, what? Like that gets me really hyped to kind of see how they would pull like literally pull that off. And I have no idea what Predator Badlands is gonna be like, but I was really impressed with what Dan Trachtenberg was able to do with Prey. And so if he's really helming these upcoming projects, they definitely have my interest. And there's just something really cool to me, Stuart, about secret projects. Like I love movies that just come out of the blue that you had no idea people were working on behind the scenes. And it just reminds me of that Cloverfield 2 movie I think Cloverfield Lane. Yeah, that movie I think was filmed completely in secret. I don't think anybody knew that movie was even set to drop. It was either Cloverfield or Cloverfield Lane. One of those was filmed completely in secret and then just released for us.
That was Cloverfield Paradox, the third
film.
Because like they filmed the entire movie, and like I had heard that there was a third one in development that the title it was under was God Particle, but they didn't say anything about the production of it or anything. So it just out of nowhere on Netflix during Super Bowl, they're like, on Netflix, watch Cloverfield Paradox and see how all these movies are connected.
But I thought another one of Cloverfield was done in secret too. But you might be right. That definitely does sound familiar to me. Unfortunately, the movie wasn't a good movie, but
Mm.
there is something cool about studios doing their part to at least surprise the audience with films that they certainly weren't aware of. So I'm all for secret projects that they want to film behind the scenes. But I'm excited for this, man. I feel like they are really hitting their stride. They're really taking some chances, some bold chances, and some fresh ideas. Whether or not that means they're going to be good, who's to certainly say the least. But I am glad to see that, especially with Disney owning these properties. I think they're really surprising some people that they're coming out with great films for things like Aliens and Predators. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. Again, Alien Romulus plans for doing a sequel. Predator has a secret film coming in. We're supposed to be getting 2 Predator films now for 2025. Possibly, again, this is just a rumor that it could be a animated anthology film along with Predator Badlands, which has in fact wrapped filming. So I'm eager to see what 2025 is definitely going to be like, and hopefully they can continue this momentum. But I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Shout out to Darth Gutierrez. What's going on, man? He says, good morning, gentlemen. I'm stoked from Badlands. Hopefully it's a good one. I'm hoping so. You know, when he says it's not what people think it's gonna be, that is I don't want to say worrisome, but that does have my mind running, because I remember we took some time, Stuart, and thinking like, what could Badlands possibly mean? Like, what time period would this certainly be in? Are they going to take the same elements from Prey and give us a different period that they're dropping a Predator in, or what? I don't necessarily know if that's the case anymore, but I am fascinated as to what it's going to be, the way that he talked a little bit about Badlands.
I think it's a crossover with the AMC TV show Into the Badlands.
Hell, that would be pretty badass, because that was a great movie. That was a great series, at least action piece wise. It was choreography wise, it certainly was. Marcelino, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you in here with us today. Many people did not like the Easter eggs and references in Romulus, thinking it hindered the story they were trying to tell. They only bothered me when they copied dialogue and the child at the end.
Oh, I loved. If you're referring to the alien child at the end, I loved that. That was freaking cool. That was creepy design, yeah. And I was super stoned when I first saw this movie. So in my head, I was like, I can't tell if I should be laughing or terrified at this. I don't know. I'm confused right now.
Yeah, man. There were some people making some squeamish noises in the movie theater when that creature came on screen. They're like, oh my god, like they just, yeah, it definitely made some people uncomfortable for sure. Marcelino says the guy who made the fan film Warrior Predator is still trying to sue Disney over making Prey.
Wait, really?
Because he believes Prey ripped him off and stole his idea.
I thought this was something that people who were fans of his project were saying. I didn't know like the actual guy who made the project was. Oh,
he was being vocal. Yeah, he was being vocal about it too.
Here's the thing. Okay, this is going to come off as a hot take possibly, but if you make a fan project, the thing is, like, it's not your property, and you risk studios being allowed to use your idea in their property. That's kind of the problem with doing a fan project. You know, you get no money, and studios can take it down or copy it. That's just something. You know, it's like if I put my hand on a stove and I burn my hand, I'm not going to try to sue the stove for burning my hand. You know, that's just how the system works. You know.
No, you're not. And that's not what you're gonna do. Oh.
Yeah. I'm suing my stove.
Yeah. Let's see here. Marcelino says, first he says Predator took place in present, but this time in Brooklyn. So it wasn't like in the near future or anything like that. It was present day.
It was present. Okay.
Day Brooklyn.
But Predators, I think, was the one that did take place in the future.
I believe so. He also says Cloverfield Paradox was a completely different movie, and then the studio last minute was like, and it's a Cloverfield movie.
So does that mean like that last shot where the Cloverfield monster makes his appearance? Was that like just a last minute shot?
That might have been like post-production. Like, let's just throw that in there. Maybe. I don't know. I really don't know how that movie came together, but maybe Marcelino's right.
Yeah.
Darth Gutierrez, excuse me, man. He says the Alien franchise never caught my attention, but I love the Predator franchise. Yeah, it doesn't work for everybody. I think maybe the last few Alien films might have turned some people off, but I thought Alien Romulus was pretty strong, man. Pretty strong.
Yeah. I think that just there's some bad Alien movies, but definitely when in terms of quality, the good definitely outweighs the bad, especially Alien and Aliens. If anything, do yourself a favor and just watch those two movies because oh my gosh, they are amazing.
But with that out of the way, guys, we will jump into our next topic for you. I had another video I was gonna play, Stuart, but now I'm just like, this ain't even gonna work for me, man. Which is a little bit of a bummer because it was like a good about 5-6 minute interview I wanted to highlight with Tom Holland. But let's get into our next topic, which will in fact be Spider-Man 4, as we have been anticipating this upcoming film, especially after No Way Home. We are currently in the middle of the multiverse saga for the MCU as well. We're still trying to figure out what type of movie this is certainly going to be. Marvel has really done its best to not say too much in regards to what the plot is going to be. Only thing that we know is that it's been a struggle between Sony and Marvel to kind of come up with a script over the past few months. Is it going to be street level? Is it going to be a multiverse story? Is it going to be a mixture of the two? I personally have no idea. But Tom Holland certainly talked about it a little bit here. And this week, if I'm not mistaken, we actually have some confirmations. Let's go ahead and pull this up here, Stuart. Tom Holland did speak about the film. He was on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. What did he say? Did I not bring it up here? I guess that's not the article. Okay. He says on the Rich Roll podcast, Holland mentioned how he and Zendaya, who star as MJ, have begun reading scripts for Spider-Man 4. He says it needs work, but the writers are doing a great job. He says, I read it 3 weeks ago, and it really lit a fire in me. Zendaya and I sat down, read it together, and we at times were bouncing around the living room.
Oh, okay.
So he's pretty stoked. He's pretty stoked about it. He did talk to Jimmy Fallon. I believe he told Jimmy Fallon that yes, Spider-Man 4 is in fact happening. And then shortly after that, I think the very next day or like 2 days later, Stuart, we got ourselves a confirmation that yes, Spider-Man 4 has officially set a release date set for July 26th. It says the film also opens 1 week after Christopher Nolan's next movie, which will also star Tom Holland. Let's see here.
I didn't know Tom Holland was going to be in the Christopher, because I heard that they were going to be a week apart, but I did not hear the second part that Tom Holland was going to be in it. That's funny.
There is news. I should have brought that up in the honorable mentions, but yes, Tom Holland has been cast in an upcoming Christopher Nolan film, which is really exciting for me. Even though Tom Holland has done a great portrayal of Peter Parker in the Spider-Man films, his range as an actor is incredible. I always tell people, like, if you want to see a great Tom Holland film, he's not the star per se, but he's got a big role in it, and that's The Impossible, about the tsunami that hit an island like several years ago. I mean, he was much younger than when he filmed it, but it just shows you how great of an actor Tom Holland certainly really is. And so the fact that he's going to be working with Christopher Nolan has me excited. I'm just thinking like, hey, this truly, Stuart, maybe Tom Holland's like first Oscar nominee if things go really well. So I'm excited to see him and Christopher Nolan team up.
Definitely. Christopher Nolan knows how to really bring out the best in people. So I'm excited to see what he's able to bring out in Tom Holland.
The article says Holland is expected to shoot the new Spider-Man movie next year, which will be a busy one for him. He'll also film Christopher Nolan's next movie and may film a role in Marvel Studios' Avengers Doomsday. It says Sony controls the film rights to the character. Holland will be everywhere the summer of 2026, 1 week before Spider-Man 4 opens. What's that? July 17th. And if he does appear in Doomsday, That film will open on May 1st of 2026. 2026. So yeah, you've got a May 1st, 2026 for Avengers Doomsday, May, June, July, and then about 2 to 3 months later, we will officially be getting Spider-Man 4, which is for a July 26th. Yeah, July 24th. Will be the next Spider-Man film. So it looks like both of these films, as of right now, the Spider-Man 4, is going to be smack dab in the middle of Doomsday, along with Avengers: Secret Wars.
Which
What do
makes
you think that means, Stuart?
I think there's a lot more strong. It's a lot stronger of a theory that like people are having about Venom possibly appearing in Spider-Man 4 with the two of them taking on Null and then having a bigger part in Secret Wars. A slight spoiler, I'll say, for Venom is that Null does not get destroyed at the end of his movie. That's the spoiler. So with that being said, he's still out there, and that's something I could see Spider-Man and Venom wanting to team up for. And I say this because I think Sony has made it clear that they don't want to go the grounded route that I think a lot of fans were hoping for. And so I think that if you're not going grounded, you need to get something else that'll hook people in without just repeating the same, oh, hey, remember the Spider-Man? So I think the best way to do that would be to give us a Spider-Man Venom either team up or a versus movie, or both. Have it start with them fighting each other and then they work together to stop Null.
Yeah, I don't know what direction they're gonna go. I mean, look, you might absolutely be right, especially with Null being out there. I guess my only worrying concern would be, is anybody gonna even gonna see Venom 3? Are people even gonna know who this character is? Is it gonna have enough impact in something like a Spider-Man 4 if a lot of people don't even go and see Venom 3 to know who this character is, unless Spider-Man 4 does a lot of heavy lifting in regards to explaining who the character is and making them sort of formidable enough? So I don't know. I would be like, there are elements to that certainly makes sense to me, but there are also elements of, if this is going to take place between Doomsday and kind of Secret Wars, I mean, maybe they can tap into the multiverse stuff. Like, there's a part of me, Stuart, that really wants it to start off as like a street level movie, and then maybe after, look, I don't know if Peter Parker is going to be in Doomsday or not. You would certainly think so, based off of being an Avengers film, and how much of an impact Peter Parker certainly has. But there's a part of me that would like Spider-Man 4 to end and Peter meet like Robert Downey Jr.'s Victor Von Doom for the first time. Like, I would love Spider-Man 4 to end on that cliffhanger of a reveal for Peter Parker of a Tony Stark-esque looking guy, and then leads into something big like a Secret Wars. But I don't know if that confrontation will come in something like Avengers Doomsday first before we even get to Spider-Man 4. So I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be an amalgamation, like a bringing and combining the street level and the multiverse, if this is going to be a full-on multiverse movie or not. But I'm just glad we're getting ourselves a Spider-Man 4. But yeah, my biggest concern was, if you're going to bring Null into it, will people care? That would be my biggest concern.
I don't think people who are fans of Venom, or I don't think there would be enough Venom fans to care about it, but I think that like you'd have enough comic book fans that would be all over that. But yeah, I could just see it now. Like, Robert Downey Jr. appears in a post-credit scene and he's like, Tony Stark? He's like, there is no Stark, there is only Doom.
Yeah, I mean, how would you feel if Spider-Man wasn't in Avengers Doomsday?
And if he's not in Avengers Doomsday, I won't be too surprised, honestly. I feel like they want to save a character like Spider-Man for something like Secret. If they had to choose between Doomsday and Secret Wars, I think they're going for Secret Wars, since that was like kind of a really big moment for him in the comic books. I mean, that's where he got the symbiote from. So I feel like that's the one you want to utilize Spider-Man for.
Yeah, the placement for Spider-Man 4 is just an interesting one, because, if we go back and we think about Infinity War and Endgame, we had a movie in between, and that was Ant-Man Ant-Man and the Wasp, and that was treated very much sort of like a prequel to the events of Infinity War. And then in the post-credit scene, you see the ramifications of Infinity War happening. And so it does make me wonder if a Spider-Man 4 movie placed between this would end up being a prequel to Doomsday in a weird way. But I have no idea how they would pull that off. Like, if I'm Kevin Feige and Sony, like, my head hurts trying to figure out how to place this. Maybe they've got a better understanding of it than I do. I mean, if Tom Holland is talking about how excited he is after reading the script, it's got to be a good one. And I don't think Tom Holland would take anything less than spectacular when it comes to, no pun intended. It would be great if it's called Spectacular Spider-Man, but I don't know if he would expect anything less in order to do another Spider-Man movie. So the script's got to be good, and it's got to fit pretty well. And if they're bouncing around the walls for some reason, Stuart, there's just a part of me that thinks that there's a Robert Downey Jr. cameo in Spider-Man 4 where he pops up and he surprises Peter Parker in here in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And especially considering the I'm sorry to cut you off, but especially considering the fact that where we leave No Way Home and nobody knows that he's Peter Parker, that Spider-Man's Peter Parker. What if it's Tony Stark, if you will, that pops up and realizes, like, hey, this is Peter Parker, knowing his connection to Tony Stark and trying to manipulate him or whatever the case might be.
Damn, that'd be evil.
that would be so evil. And I think Peter also being surprised, like, wait, somebody remembers me? I just think it would be so trippy, man, if he pops up in Spider-Man 4, but who knows?
Yeah, it's something I could see working. Like, he uses Spider-Man to help build like a doomsday machine of some sort, and it's not until like it's already basically too late where Spider-Man goes, wait a minute, Mr. Stark would never say something like that.
I mean, this is all speculation, folks, but it's fun. And I think this also goes to show the return of Robert Downey Jr. Like, people, crapped on the idea of him being Victor Von Doom, but I do think that, however you might feel about it, I do think from a storyline perspective, it opens up so many fantastic opportunities, especially based off of what the relationship between him and Peter was certainly like. I don't know. I still want to see more Venom and Peter Parker on screen together. I think, they've kind of teased us over the years, so there's a part of me that kind of wants to see that too, but I don't know. I don't know what I want anymore, Stuart, for Spider-Man 4 at this point, to be frank with you.
I mean, I know what I want, but I already know I'm not getting it, so I might as well like look at other things I would like to see that are still possible. Hence why we go with our Doctor Doom or Venom ideas of characters that could pop up in Spider-Man 4, because it does sound like it's for sure not going to be a street level movie, which is, I think, what a lot of people were really hoping for. But if we're going multiverse, totally fine. I mean, as long as they're not repeating No Way Home, I really don't want to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in this movie. I really don't, because I loved seeing them in No Way Home. And if you bring them back in the next Spider-Man movie, it's just going to kill that magic. It's not going to have that same impact it had that first time. And in fact, it might even just like kind of make that original impact not as cool anymore, because now it's just going to be like, oh, so this is just going to be a regular thing now. So,
regular thing.
Yeah. So it's like, please don't do that. At the most, like, yes, bring in Venom, because that is something that I'm sure a lot of people really want to see, Spider-Man and Venom fighting each other or teaming up or both. One thing I almost forgot to mention too, I do find it very surprising that they are now trusting Tom Holland to read the script instead of having to give him the page that he's going to be reading the day of, like they used to, because he can't keep his mouth shut.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely grown up, man. He's definitely come a really long way. Let me see if I can get this interview to work. I'm going to try this one more time for y'all. But Tom Holland did have an interview where he sat down and he really talked about a lot of what you just you talked about, Stuart. Like, for me, I if you get a chance, this is from and I would highly recommend you guys just check this out on your own, Rich Roll YouTube channel. Tom Holland launches a second career living alcohol-free and acting with authenticity. It's a pretty long interview, but they do have timeline segments, so you can kind of bounce around if you want to. But the last portion of it really highlights his time working with Sony, along with Marvel. Let's see if this will work. If not, I'll just talk about it, but we'll see.
I think the biggest thing that I'm facing right now, which is without a shadow of a doubt the most first world problem that anyone has ever experienced, is the power of choice, and it comes down to Spider-Man. When I signed my contract for Spider-Man 1, I signed a 6-picture deal. I was 18 years old. I was more excited than I'd ever been about anything ever. And for the last 10 years, I have been at the beck and call of Marvel and Sony. And proudly so. It's been the best experience of my life. I'm now at a juncture where I can say no. And now that I've been afforded that power.
God damn it.
This season,
Fucking ass.
I just like how, like, out of context, that almost sounds like a supervillain line.
Holiday card.
And now that I've been afforded that power.
I signed a 6-picture deal. I was 18 years old. I was more excited than I'd ever been about anything ever. And for the last 10 years, I have been at the beck and call of Marvel and Sony. And proudly so. It's been the best experience of my life. I'm now at a juncture where I can say no. And now that I've been afforded that power, I am struggling to figure out what is the right thing to do. It's meant I've had to put my foot down in certain instances, which I haven't been allowed to do in the past. And I think the learning curve that I'm on right now is dealing with that new sense of power, making sure that I don't abuse it, but making sure that I do the best thing for me rather than for the studio. And really the best thing for the character. I don't want to make another movie for the sake of making it. I don't want
the studio wants you to make another Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, they do. And I want to make another one. I want to make many more, but I want to do it for the right reasons. And now, like I said to you earlier, sometimes I miss the day when getting the job was the win. I am navigating and figuring out what having that kind of power means.
You know, Stuart, first off, I will continue this, but if this isn't the pure definition of with great power comes great responsibility.
Yes.
Right?
I was thinking that exact thing. I was also like, I was just like thinking like how mature like this is. Like it's not like he's bragging about his status. It's not that he's trying to like show off his ego. He's just kind of like saying it as it is. I was really young when I joined, you know, and I was definitely like I did what they told me to do kind of guy. And now I've gotten to the point now he has that experience and he's gotten that popularity because people love him as Spider-Man. And I love it. He's like, I can say no to the studio, but it is also my responsibility to make sure that's not a power that I abuse. And I love that he even kind of like says, you know, continuing to do Spider-Man, he's doing it because he wants to and not because like he feels contractually obligated to, you know?
Yeah, it's got to be an interesting position he finds himself in. Because yeah, you're right. I mean, his movies have made so much money, you know, that it's like you now are afforded the opportunity to take stances of things that you don't want to do, because what are the studios going to do? Are they going to recast you? What? Like, there's no way the studios are going to want to recast you right now when you're literally at the height of your power, right? Like, people love this guy as Peter Parker. They showcase it in the movies and the money that these movies make at the box office sort of thing. It's like you now have leverage. And I think he goes on and I will play a little bit more, but he does go on and talk about the idea that like now, you know, he gets to talk to people like Robert Downey Jr. about like his next moves because he's earned that opportunity to kind of do that. But I just love how level-headed Tom Holland is at his particular age right now with all this experience. But let's go ahead and continue this.
And that responsibility. Yeah. And I'm figuring it out. And I'm speaking to people and asking questions. And, you know, I've been speaking to Downey a lot, especially about him making his return, which is super exciting.
He's gone on that exploration and he still came back to do more.
That was a tough secret to sit on. because I have a reputation for ruining things, and I strategically have done
you're
no
a little
press.
loose-lipped around MCU secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess in terms of challenges or things that I'm dealing with, that would be it. And I'm by no means complaining. It's a wonderful place to be. But it is something that keeps me up at night, and I'm constantly thinking of like, is this the right thing to do? Am I going to do justice to the character? Am I going to do justice to the fans? I definitely don't want to just make a movie for the sake of it, because that's not what Spider-Man represents. So yeah, it's a complicated one.
That is complicated.
It's going really well though.
Yeah, it is. This is what we call a high quality problem.
Yeah.
It's like Crimea River, right? But it's a problem nonetheless. It's a huge decision that has, kind of downstream implications for a lot of people, right? And also interesting to me, because I've heard you talk about being sort of an unrepentant people pleaser, right? And so it's confronting you with your innate people pleasing tendencies to try to make a decision outside of that is not only in your best interest, but in the best interest of the franchise and what is in service to this character that's much larger than you and what you want to do.
And I will say, and and we'll continue in just a second, but I will say, as a person who myself too tends to be this people pleaser, like I hate letting people down. I hate saying no to people. Like it's probably one of my biggest flaws, honestly. Like I understand where he's coming from. Like the fact that, you, especially at such a young age, when he says like he was 18 when he started this, right? Like the ability to say no to adults or not even have that leverage whatsoever. And now that you do have the leverage, like you don't want to let anybody down or say no or leave people with sort of like a bad taste in your mouth. But you have to be able to say no. Like you have to be able to know when to kind of put your foot down and say no to people. And when you are just a people pleaser, that is like the hardest thing in the world to do. So I totally understand where Tom's coming from here. Let's go ahead.
Fans as well. Like, I owe everything to the fans of Marvel and myself. They've been so kind and generous to me. Like after Civil War came out, I felt like Civil War was my audition to the world. Like I'd gotten the part of Spider-Man. I did the film with the Russo brothers and that came out. And that to me felt like my, will you embrace me as Spider-Man? And they did. And I'm so grateful that they did. And I feel like I owe it to them to give and deliver the best version of what the next chapter for Spider-Man looks like. And I think that's really important. And I think the creative integrity for something like that is really important. And the studio is on board and supportive and really collaborative. And I've been so blown away by how welcoming they've been into that creative room. But, we're working now with the pedal is to the metal. We're trying to get it going as soon as possible. Things are looking great, but there's still a lot of moving pieces that need to come together for us to hit the ground running.
Right. So what is the ticking clock on this decision and what are the variables? Is it the script, the team, the story? Like, how are you going to make this decision? What are the factors that come into play that's going to sway you one way or the other?
I'm not really sure about how much I can talk about in terms of what are some of the challenges we face creatively and logistically.
No one's listening. Come on.
Obviously, one of the things to bear in mind with Marvel is that your film is a small cog in a large machine, and that machine has got to keep running. And you need to make sure that you can fit into that timeline at the right time to benefit the bigger picture.
An infinite number of machines across the multiverse.
Yes, exactly. So, that's one of the challenges we're facing, and the time in which we need to get that done is a tall order, but definitely achievable with the people we have working on it now. But my biggest thing is the creative. We have a creative and a pitch and a draft, which is excellent. It needs work, but the writers are doing a great job. And I read it 3 weeks ago, and it really lit a fire in me. Zendaya and I sat down and read it together, and we at times were bouncing around the living room this is a real movie worthy of the fans' respect. But there's a few things we need to figure out before we can get that really going. But it's exciting, and I'm really, really excited about it.
you straddled that question well and avoided all the political pitfalls.
Every bit of media training
what you needed to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it, man. I love this interview for so many reasons, Stuart. Like, to me, it just really shows the growth of Tom Holland after all these years. You know, you mentioned him having loose lips, you know, with all the, you know, the things that he's kind of revealed, and to be able to see him, even the interviewer's like, yeah, you really you navigated that question really well. You know, he's like, yeah, that's that media training.
Like, yeah, I was trying to trick you into giving me some spoilers, but you know what? You avoided that. Good job.
Yeah, I don't know. I really have enjoyed seeing Tom Holland's growth. I mean, he even talks about later in the interview, he talks about, or earlier in the interview, why he's, you know, he doesn't drink alcohol anymore type of thing. Also, that he said there were times he would go to the bar and he would shut the bar down. You know, he'd be there until late at night sometimes. And he said he realized that he had a problem when it comes to drinking, and he took the initiative to go ahead and stop that. And it seems as though it's really made him, I don't want to say more level-headed or anything like that, but it just seems like he's really come a long way, man. And I've really enjoyed just seeing how serious he takes this role, and he understands, like, the fans love me in this position and I love being in this position, and there comes a lot of responsibility with that, and I think he's navigating it extremely well. And his words about what the script for Spider-Man 4 is really exciting. I mean, the fact that it lit a fire under him, that he feels like this is worthy to be a Spider-Man movie and one that fans will kind of appreciate, and the fact that it even keeps him up at night, I think just shows how serious he kind of takes it. But it sounds promising nonetheless.
Definitely.
What'd you think about? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I think that if he's excited for this, that I'm kind of excited for this, because yeah, he seems to love the characters like as much as the fans do, and he seems to, you know, want this character to continue to succeed. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But guys, let us know your thoughts in regards to Spider-Man 4 getting a release date of July 2026. What did you think about Tom Holland's comments? Let your thoughts be known in the comment section box below. And from there, Stuart, we will move on to our next topic for the day. We're going to get into our Star Wars bag, man. I should have brought my tissues because I might cry. I might cry. I might cry, Stuart. I continue to get disappointed, man. Lucasfilm, as a longtime Star Wars fan, I continue to get disappointed. Look, there's some Lucasfilm, Disney, Star Wars stuff that I've really enjoyed. There's some that I've found lukewarm and just good or enjoyable, and there's some other things that I just rather not have to watch ever again. But I think one of the frustrating things for us as fans has really been lack of Star Wars movies, and not just the lack of Star Wars movies, but I think the false pretenses and the fake announcements. I don't want to say fake announcements. Maybe they had good intentions when they made these announcements, but just things continuing to fall by the wayside anytime that we've gotten some level of big announcement, whether that be Lucasfilm making an announcement, whether that be sources behind the scenes making announcements for them. A lot of this stuff, when it comes to just film wise, has really amounted to almost nothing. I mean, the number of writers, directors attached to projects ever since Disney took hold, and maybe especially ever since maybe the Last Jedi, it just feels as though it's been come and go, false starts, tons of drafts of scripts, nothing working, and then just moving on to something else or completely taking a film off the schedule. I think if you're a Star Wars fan, you've been a frustrated Star Wars fan, to certainly say the least.
Yeah.
And that might be taking it lightly. And this news this week, guys, is not going to do us any better. This week, according to Variety.com, Star Wars movie with Daisy Ridley loses screenwriter Stephen Knight. I mean, to put this into put this into perspective, okay, Oh, sorry, Stuart.
Oh,
We had
okay.
Damon Lindelof was originally attached to this film to be the writer, and he eventually got let go or he stepped away. Then they bring in Peaky Blinders writer Stephen Knight, who some people say Peaky Blinders is an incredible series if you haven't had the opportunity to watch it. Stephen Knight is more than a formidable writer, to certainly say the least. And he's been working on a script for months, if not at least a year, maybe. I don't even remember when he was announced to be on board as writer, but it's been several months that people have been waiting for this script to actually happen. Charmin Obey-Chenoy, the director of this film, months ago talked about the idea that they were waiting for a final script. Daisy Ridley has talked about the idea for months, saying like she's seen an outline, she's excited for what it could be. And was waiting for a final script, and that final script just never came. And now, Star Wars movie with Daisy Ridley loses its screenwriter, Stephen Knight.
Of course.
There's another disturbance in the Force. Screenwriter Stephen Knight has departed Star Wars movie set to follow Daisy Ridley's Rey after the events of The Rise of Skywalker in March of 2023. Okay, I said months, Stuart. I honestly thought it was March of 2024. But this is March 2023 that he signed on to the project.
Oh my gosh.
Screenwriters Damon Lindelof and Justice Gibson. Lucasfilm is actively talking to potential writers to take on the story, which has been said to chronicle Rey's effort to start a new Jedi Order. But the delay likely means production won't start until well into 2025 at the latest, or at least. Maybe that's like the earliest. Charmin Obey-Chenoy is still attached to direct her film, which would be her first feature film, by the way. She has done shorts, if I'm not mistaken. She has twice won for Oscars for Best Documentary Short Film.
Oh, okay.
Obey-Chenoy told Variety that Star Wars story that interests me most is in Rey's journey as a female Jedi. That's how I can best bring my experiences to it. Knight, meanwhile, has been a prolific creative force in film and television, writing the screenplay for the upcoming Maria biopic with Angelina Jolie, as well as creating and a feature film adaptation of his popular BBC series Peaky Blinders, as well as creating series for FX The Veil, A Thousand Blows, and Town. The next Star Wars movie, Mandalorian Grogu, is scheduled for May 2026. That movie has wrapped filming. Mandalorian and Grogu has wrapped filming. The movie's going into post-production. So we are getting a Star Wars film. But again, this is a Star Wars film that's being produced from a television series, right? It's not like its own original kind of Star Wars movie.
Hang on, I want to make sure I read that correctly. So wait, The Mandalorian is done filming currently?
Yes.
And it's set to come out when again?
May of next year.
Oh,
no,
May.
No, I'm sorry. No.
Oh, it is 2026.
May of 2026. So about a year and a half.
Dang, so that is a long post-production time.
Yes.
Okay, so if the CG looks bad, they have no excuse.
Yeah, no excuse. And then Disney has slated 2 more Star Wars films for December 2026 and December 2027, but has not yet confirmed their titles. So we'll see if those movies ever get made. But Stuart, another one bites the dust, man. This is really difficult pill for us to swallow. I would like to kind of get your thoughts on this, though.
Yeah, definitely disappointing, but not surprising. I find it really bizarre that this guy was hired like back in 2023, and apparently, it being 2024 now. I mean, maybe he had a rough draft. Maybe he had something, and that was partially why he quit. It's because they didn't like the draft that he gave. But like, if he didn't have a draft or anything, I wonder if that's like part of why they ended up kicking him off the writing team, was because like he didn't have anything ready to go for this. So I'm thinking more than anything, I'm just curious about why. Is it because like they're looking for the perfect script? Is it because he was uncompliant with what like the studio wanted? That's like the annoying thing when people leave projects, is you never know why until like maybe years after the fact. So that's like my biggest thing. but yeah, it is kind of frustrating to constantly be getting all these Star Wars announcements only for them to constantly be getting canceled one after another. I would just prefer if Disney stopped announcing so many projects and instead just like focused on one movie at a time, you know, instead of just being like, oh yeah, we have like these 6 different Star Wars movies in development, each of different timelines, each all over the place. And it's like, how about you just do one of those movies, make it first, and then tell us about the next one, you know? You are muted.
Yeah, it is rather frustrating to certainly say the least. There was I thought there was an article that I read somewhere about this, that he had previously written several scripts on it. That it wasn't like it was just a draft, but that they continued to kind of give him notes, and he kept going back to the drawing board to go ahead and write it, but it just never happened. But from what I had read is that he did in fact have different he did have several scripts that were kind of brought in. I'm trying to see if I'm trying to look at other articles to see if they mention that also in here, but I'm not finding it anywhere. I don't remember where I read it at, but I thought they said that he had several scripts in it. You know, I think for me, this is disturbing in the sense of like, you know, I can understand if this guy was like a first-time writer or he hadn't written anything in his life, but this is Stephen Knight. You know, I'm like, why? Like, Kathleen Kennedy, are you giving him notes? Bob Iger, are you giving this man notes? Like, he knows how to write. Like, let this man tell a story.
Yeah.
Like, how bad of a script could this have been for somebody who's done Peaky Blinders? The man, he's done Peaky Blinders series. That series has gone on to win a ton of Emmys. He literally just wrote this Peaky Blinders movie. This movie had Damon Lindelof attached to it. Lindelof, since departing, literally wrote an entire series called Lanterns for DCU that's set to go ahead and drop out. How bad could their scripts have possibly been for a Rey Skywalker movie? So I'm just thinking to myself, like, you've gone through Damon Lindelof, who literally also wrote Watchmen, mind you, which was also nominated for Emmys, if I'm not mistaken. Now you're going through another great writer in Stephen Knight. Who else are you going to get? I don't want to say there's no other great writers out there, but the point that I'm making is you've got more than qualified writers. Like, what type of story are you absolutely looking for here? Is this a case again of like you said, Stuart, are you looking for like a perfect draft? Because I don't know if those are even possible. And if you, and like, did it take too many risks? Like, are they become risk averse now to where they're just like, I don't know if this is going to work? Like, this just feels to me like Disney just continues to backtrack, continues to be fearful, and not allow their creatives to just kind of create. Like, I get the idea that Star Wars is a huge franchise, and while every franchise has, I don't want to say studio interference, they always get studio notes. But I'm starting to think that Lucasfilm is like helicopter parents, you know, that just hover over you and just like micromanage every little thing that you do. Like, let these people just create. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But to have somebody like Stephen Knight come in, do several drafts, and give him a bunch of notes like his stuff isn't good enough, that like boggles my mind, because these people in their time have gone on to make movies and written other series that have been greenlit. And yet when it comes to Lucasfilm, man, I got to tell you, they just have cold feet these days. So I don't know what's going to happen with this project. I truly don't. It seems as though, according to the article, though, that they are looking for other writers. So this isn't a film that's just going to be thrown by the wayside and not done. They clearly have plans on moving the story forward for Rey Skywalker, which there's a part of me, I really want to see that. Lucasfilm is just really made it difficult for me as a fan to kind of get on board or have any level of excitement for anything that they want to do, because at this point I just don't believe them anymore. Like, I just don't believe that anything is going to happen anymore.
It's like they provide us with plenty of Star Wars TV shows, and I'm not complaining in that department. Like, some of them work, some of them aren't as great as others, and that's totally fine. That's when you're getting as much quantity as you are with Star Wars. Not everything's gonna be perfect, and that's totally fine. But when it comes to their movies, it's okay to miss, but you gotta at least aim first. You gotta at least take a swing first, and then, like, when it comes to the writers, it's like hiring a private chef, and then they ask him to make you something very specific. They make it for you, and then before you even try it, you're like, this looks like it would taste better with these ingredients too. Can you recook me that whole thing, but add these ingredients on top of it? And then before you know it, you just got like a complete mess, and then, like, the original idea that you were going for is gone. And it's like, why even bother hiring the chef? Why not just cook it yourself at that point?
Yeah, and I just don't like when you announce these films. I have always been under the impression that when you announce the film, that usually would mean, hey, not only do I have a director on board, but I also have a writer on board. And that means we have literally sat down with each other and we've had thorough conversations about the movie that we want to make. Like, I would assume that they would have gone through this already. Like, notes as to what are we aiming for? Where's the direction we want these characters to go? What kind of moments in time throughout the movie do we absolutely need to hit, sort of thing. I would think that you would have all that ready to go, so that, granted, you may not have a completed script as of yet, but it's just, how are you hiring these people and not being exactly on the same page as to what you want to make? So then you can say, all right, break. And then everybody goes out and they create. And yes, every movie is going to have several drafts. Like, no movie is going to be perfect on the absolute first draft that you wind up making. But to go through 3 drafts, 4 drafts, and not have a final script, and to be like, oh, this isn't going to work out. Why did you hire this person in the first place if you guys were not on the same page as to what? Like, that's where the communication for me doesn't make any sense. Marcelino says people say that this is a win for Star Wars. I mean, I don't know. Look, if they're saying this is a win for Star Wars because we didn't want to race Skywalker movie in the first place, yada yada yada. Yeah, don't make this movie. Like, maybe people view it as a win. Maybe those people view it as a win in that regards. There's also a group of people that probably would view this as a win in the sense of, like, look, if you don't have the right script, don't make the movie. And I get that. I completely agree with that. If the script isn't hitting, don't make the movie. But you've gone through 2 writers already. What is your idea for what this movie's supposed to be? Did it change from David Lindelof to Peaky Blinders Stephen Knight? As he's writing the script, you're like, you know what? We might want to go another direction. Why did you bring these people on in the first place? You should have brought them on in the first place because you understood the vision that you wanted to tell. And if he's bringing you a second and a third and a fourth script, clearly it's not the vision. So why did you hire these people? And so that's the frustrating part to me. I agree. Do not make a movie unless the script is done, a la James Gunn. Okay, that everybody is happy with. So that's great. Don't make this movie. But we are 2 writers in already. They should know what this movie is supposed to be. And it's just troubling that they've had 2 great writers, not like, hey, this person's never done a feature film before and coming over to write from television. You got Damon Lindelof and Stephen Knight. And if they can't nail it, to me, this just reeks of either studio, like Kathleen Kennedy, Bob Iger, just studio influence, really not knowing where they want to take this. At least that's what I get away from it. 2 writers in, and it's just unfortunate. Because then for me, Stuart, it's like, what other writers are going to want to tackle this movie?
Like, why would you want to take up a job knowing that, they're not going to let you write your story? They're going to basically want to write they were going to want you to write their story. And if it's not good enough, And the big thing too is like, look at who they got rid of. Basically, if they got rid of a big writer like him, like, you know, who's going to want to do it now? Because now it's like, why would I want to work for someone who's likely going to fire me and not let me write my own story? Basically, it's just, yeah. I think it's bad practice for Disney, and it's something that or not Disney, just Lucasfilm in general, and something that's been a problem like even since like Solo, a Star Wars story. You know, it's like. It's like if you want something very specific, like the way they clearly do, they clearly have a very specific vision in mind. Don't hire big time writers or big time directors. Hire people then, if that's what you're going for. I think that's a bad thing to go for. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that is what you should be going for. You shouldn't. But if you are going to hire young people, hire new people that are new to the business, therefore, you know, this could be like their doorway.
You can mold and shape them.
Exactly. Don't hire freaking, you know, Christopher Nolan to direct a Star Wars movie if you're not going to let him make his Star Wars movie, okay? Because he's not going to do that. He's going to leave just like the other writers and directors you've been hiring. And it's like this has been going on so much. They've been doing it so much since the beginning of Lucasfilm, or sorry, since Disney owning Lucasfilm, because it happened with Solo, it happened with Rise of Skywalker, it's happening again with all these movies that they keep announcing but then never come through. And it's like at a certain point, you got to ask yourself, is the problem the people you're hiring, or is the problem yourself? If it happens that many times, Lucasfilm, maybe the problem is on your end.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Because Christopher Nolan ain't gonna take your studio notes. That's for sure.
Oh God, no. Yeah, that was an over-exaggerated example. But I don't think they would ever try to hire him for Star Wars. But you know what I mean.
I saw somebody on Twitter that was like the one person that can save this Rey Skywalker movie, and it was a picture of Rian Johnson. It's like, oh my God, I don't even know if Ryan wants to jump back in the Star Wars world or not. But it's just unfortunate. But look, Stuart. Even though there's bad news, can I say there might be potential good news also?
Please. I love hearing good news.
And that might come in the form of James Mangold's movie, believe it or not. According to worldofreal.com, it says James Mangold's Star Wars Dawn of the Jedi is set to shoot next year. It says Hollywood loves James Mangold. He's one of the go-to hired hands in the industry, a decently talented filmmaker who doesn't mind adhering to the creative control that studios enforce upon him.
As we saw from the fifth Indiana Jones movie.
Not an auteur in the least bit, but with films such as Ford v Ferrari, Logan, and Copland in his filmography, not too shabby either. The latest Mangold endeavor, A Complete Unknown, is set to release in December. It says A Dawn of the Jedi will explore the origins of the Jedi taking place in the earliest eras in the Star Wars franchise. The film is set 25,000 years in the past. Beau Willimon, who's from Andor, was recently tapped to co-write Dawn of the Jedi alongside Mangold. It did say, so it happens according to one of the show's stars. Oh, hold on. Let me see. Hold on. It says Mangold's film seems to be next up after Mandalorian and Grogu, but there are also 6 other projects currently in development. He says that, or at least until Mangold completes his own film next year. So as of right now, it says Daniel Rickman, insider source online, is saying that after Complete Unknown, Mangold's set to shoot his Star Wars movie Dawn of the Jedi, and it could happen as early as next year. So that seems like that's a project that probably is already ready to go script wise. I actually have not heard anything in regards to it coming along behind the scenes, how many scripts or like drafts of it that certainly might have been. So there is a part of me that's hoping that this is correct, that James Mangold and Beau, I can't remember his last name, might have nailed this script, and hopefully, if everything looks well, maybe James Mangold's movie might actually go into production sometime next year, which is kind of surprising to me, Stuart, because one of the worries that I had after The Acolyte was like, I didn't know if they would want to take a risk with something like Dawn of the Jedi because of how maybe some of the fan base may perceive it. But if this holds true, God, I hope it's truthful. I hope it's truthful, because I would like to see. This is one of the films I am looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, in fact, I'd say that when I heard the Rey Skywalker news, disappointed, but mostly just at the way just Lucasfilm is being managed when it comes to the Star Wars movies. But I am super relieved to hear that this movie is on track, because out of all the Star Wars projects that are currently announced, this is the one that I'm actually the most excited for. Because I agree with you. I'm glad they didn't let the Acolyte discourage them from continuing this project. We've seen a lot of the Empire. We've seen a lot of the Clone Wars, and we're seeing a lot more of the post-Empire, war, in like the Mandalorian, and then in Ahsoka. But yeah, I like the idea of giving us something completely different eras of the Star Wars universe. So doing something like an Acolyte was awesome, and then now going to the very, very beginning, to the dawn of the very first Jedi. That is something incredibly unique, and I can't wait to see how that turns out.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And the idea of like James Mangold seems like he's very studio friendly, in the sense that he can create his own great films, but he also can balance that with taking studio direction. And I think the fact that he has done that, and if this movie is truly going to get in front of the cameras next year, I think if it does get in front of the films, I think it goes to show just how hands-on he probably is with the studio, and the studio wanting to really shape or help shape what the story is, to where I don't want to say didn't have any hands-on, but that there really was no pushback for the development of this one, say, compared to what it was with Stephen Knight or Damon Lindelof, right? Like, maybe some people just don't play nicely with with studios, in the sense of like, I've kind of earned that right to be able to creatively tell what I want. But James Mangold seems like he might be that person that clearly is open to it. And with his relationship with Lucasfilm and stuff, this would make sense, that if Disney has not gotten cold feet as to why this process of Dawn of the Jedi has maybe gone as smoothly as it has, where we really haven't heard anything behind the scenes besides it's getting ready to film next year. And if it can stay on that track, that's really what that sounds like to me.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Yeah, it was like James Gunn, when he was doing Guardians of the Galaxy 1, 2, and 3. Like he I'm pretty sure it's safe to say, at least for the first two, he didn't have full creative control. The studio probably had a lot of notes, but he's a guy that knows how to have a vision. He's a guy that knows how to to tell his story, but still be able to work within the studio notes that are given to him. Some directors are really good with that, some not so much. Like, you even have the director of Thor 2 admitting that, like, hey, it's my own fault, I couldn't do it like James Gunn could. But yeah, now you have this director who I thought, he's done some really incredible films in the past. I wasn't the biggest fan of his last Indiana Jones movie, so I do hope that if it was studio interference that caused the movie to kind of come out the way that it did, I hope that with this one, he's a little more confident in putting his foot down for this Star Wars film. Yeah, other than that, I do think they got a good director, and I really hope we get to see his, even though obviously there's going to be studio notes, I still hope it's his vision at the end of the day that we get to see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this says anything, but I did think that this movie was better than Crystal Skull, his Indiana Jones movie. At least I personally thought so. And I thought it was a fine film. I can understand people's disappointment in it. It wasn't one that I was like gushing about, but I thought it was a fine entry into Indiana Jones and what they were able to do. It kind of jumped the shark a little bit for me in its final act. But I enjoyed the sensibilities that I thought James Mangold certainly brought to it. Could it have been stronger? Absolutely. But I agree with you. I think he navigated the waters really well in at least putting that film together.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. Rey Skywalker movie loses another writer, but James Mangold's Star Wars movie, Dawn of the Jedi, if true, may in fact be getting in front of cameras next year. So who knows what to believe these days? What Star
Fingers
Wars?
crossed.
Fingers crossed. for
Of
sure.
all the projects I want to go through, this one. Like I know like we talked about earlier, how Mandalorian and Grogu is already filmed. I'm gonna say this, and this would probably piss off a lot of Star Wars fans, but you could scrap that one as long as I get Dawn of the Jedi.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it does. I will say this too. It does make me curious if Dawn of the Jedi, I thought that this, when they announced this, I was kind of hoping that this movie would drop first. There are aspects of Dawn of the Jedi that I think, if released first, could maybe have an impact on the script for like a Rey Skywalker movie. Because I would like, especially if she's going to be the one to create like a new Jedi Order. It clearly has the Jedi texts say there is an element of me that kind of feels like maybe some of the teachings and the learnings that we see from Dawn of the Jedi, maybe they trickle into something like a new Jedi Order for Rey Skywalker, or maybe there's references to the Dawn of the Jedi movie in the Rey Skywalker movie. I just think there's ways that you can play with it. So it would make sense for me personally if Dawn of the Jedi were to be released before the Rey Skywalker film. So we'll see. That's just speculation on my part, trying to be hopeful. So we'll see.
I would totally agree, and I would also say one thing that'd be kind of an interesting take to go with it if they wanted those movies to have like some sort of connectivity without like making them directly connected is like you mentioned with the Jedi text having certain things that made sense when they were written playing out, but like with the current time that Rey is living in, having it not make quite as much sense. A good way to like kind of reflect the real world, honestly. You know, and I think that'd be kind of a cool way to connect those two movies, even though they're like distances apart in terms of the timeline. You know, the past will always like be relevant to the future in some way, shape, or form. And I think that'd be kind of a cool like thing to bring together.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. I think that's a great reflection on how that can impact a Rey Skywalker film. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in regards to all the Star Wars news. We do have two more topics. We'll try and breeze through some of these real quick if we can. But the next one, you know, one of the things, Stuart, because we didn't get the opportunity to do last week's show, one of the things that got announced for people that might have missed it, Disney with another live action movie announcement, but this time a Prince Charming film. That definitely took me by surprise. I don't think Prince Charming has had its own animated film. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like we've seen Prince Charming in some capacity in like other Disney films, but maybe not its own sort of animated Disney film. But if I am wrong, please let me know in the comment section box below. But they are doing a live action Prince Charming, Stuart, and it seems as though they might have found their Prince Charming. Let's go ahead and pull this one up, because it seems as though there may be only one actor in Hollywood, considering how many casting announcements I feel like this man has been in. But Chris Hemsworth in talks to star in the Prince Charming pick from Disney and Paul King. Let's go ahead and read this. Chris Hemsworth is in talks to star as the new Prince Charming movie, which has Paul King on board to direct. Deadline first reported last week that King was developing the picture and can now confirm that Chris Hemsworth is in talks to play the iconic character. It says the film is currently in development, and Disney had no comment on Hemsworth's involvement. While plot details are unknown, Prince Charming character has had many origins throughout literature, but when it comes to Disney, it is usually the character that becomes the love interest of many of the Disney princesses. While many have linked him to the classic animated picks like Sleeping Beauty and Snow White, his true origin is Cinderella, where Cinderella's actual love interest is Prince Charming. As for the film project, insiders do add the film will not specifically be linked to Cinderella. Hemsworth had a busy year starring in Mad Max, along with Optimus Prime and Transformers 1. He is set to star in the studio thriller Crime 101, which is currently in production. So, look, Chris Hemsworth is definitely easy on the eyes. I could definitely see him being a Prince Charming. He's been cast. I feel like we've been announcing Chris Hemsworth in like 2 or 3 projects as of late. So I am surprised that they haven't been able to find somebody else to take this particular role. But, Stuart, I got to say, I think with with this casting choice, I think there's a level of humor that I think is maybe added to this. Um, it is one of those things where like I wonder if this is like, I don't want to say a spoof on Prince Charming, but with Chris Hemsworth having the comedy chops, I wonder if this is going to be a case of like Prince Charming coming to the rescue to all these princesses, and then they still manage to like handle the situations on their own, and he finds himself like not really needed as much anymore. Like I don't know how this is going to work out. I do wonder if like it says it's not linked to Cinderella whatsoever. So I am trying to figure out, who is he gonna woo? Who is he gonna rescue? Is there a damsel in distress? Or is Chris Hemsworth gonna bring sort of like a comedic aspect in where like the princesses actually end up saving Prince Charming in certain scenarios here? I really don't know the direction that they're going with this film, because Prince Charming, I don't believe, has had his own animated film, so it's not like they're drawing upon anything to adapt from. But if he has had numerous, like the fact that he's had numerous outings in Disney films makes me wonder if this is going to be the case of like a Prince Charming coming across several different princesses and trying, but not succeeding and finding the one that's sort of made for him. I really don't know, but I don't look, this isn't a movie at this point that I'm fully invested in at all. Like I really do not care, but I find the casting of Chris Hemsworth a very interesting one. And because of his comedy chops and what he brings, not to say that that's all Chris Hemsworth does. If you saw Furiosa, the man's got range. He is an incredible actor. But this one feels odd to me. And so I am more interested to see where this is going to go than I am as of watching it as of right now. But what do you think when you hear this news?
I think I mostly like agree with everything. Like, this just seems weird to me because like Prince Charming to me has always been less of a character and more of a plot device, which it's funny because you always see that with female love interest, but you don't see it often with male love interest. So like Prince Charming is just one of those few where he's just like, he's there because he's the, price for the princess, essentially, for overcoming her obstacles and stuff like that. So for him to get his own movie is interesting. I would assume that there's no way this is just a straightforward like Prince movie.
No way.
This has to be a parody in some way, shape, or form, because otherwise, like, I don't know how you pitch a movie like this. Yeah, it's interesting. I would kind of hope, what kind of take I want them to do with it, even though it would probably be considered copying. I wouldn't mind if they gave him kind of Prince Charming from the Shrek franchise kind of personality, because I fucking love Prince Charming from Shrek. He is one of the funniest villains, I think, like in an animated series. So if that was the direction they wanted to take with this character, I think Chris Hemsworth would be perfect for that type of personality. But I could also see Disney being worried about like too many people comparing them to Shrek, especially with another Shrek movie coming out. So I don't know if that'll be the direction they go in. This is just a weird announcement. As of now, I have like no hype, no expectations around it, but I'll probably be keeping an eye out for it, just like because a part of me is just curious what direction they're going into. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm going to keep my eye on it and see how this further develops. Hopefully we'll get more details in regards to what the story could potentially be. And look, Marcelino, I think, hit it right on the nose here. What he says he says this Prince Charming film should be similar to Barbie. Yes. How Prince Charming acts like Ken initially, where his toxic masculinity damages people around him, but then realizes he's a victim of the patriarchy and tries to be better and break the stereotypical norms that views that men and women should play their part, I would assume, by becoming a great feminist message. I would completely be on board with that. I really like that mentality. And that kind of goes into the idea of like a parody or a spoof of a Prince Charming. The idea of like maybe he's trying to save these women and realize these women really don't need saving, or they ends up being the ones kind of saving him, and it kind of gives him a different mentality, right? And it is one of those things to say, like, you can still have that message, but I think just because we're in a modern day, not every female needs a saving, right? Like not every female needs a Prince Charming, or the Prince Charming that we once knew you could still be that Prince Charming, but just in a different way. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think if that can empower men to still have their sense of masculinity and still understand how to lift up other women sort of mentality without taking away their abilities to accomplish things as well. Like I completely agree with you, Marcelino. And even before seeing your message, I think that's what I was also trying to imply in the sense of how Chris Hemsworth could really add to this role. So I completely agree with you, Marcelino. I think that might be the route that they're going. If it's not, I still think your idea is brilliant, to be quite frank with you. But I think that's why this maybe feels so weird to us. Like, what, a Prince Charming movie? But there could be a reason for that, Stuart, for sure.
Definitely. Also, I actually have not seen this show, Once Upon a Time. I always thought it looked
Is that
fascinating.
the
but
ABC series?
Yeah. So
Okay.
apparently he does have an actual character arc in that show. Okay, that's good to know.
I always was fascinated with Once Upon a Time because growing up, I was a big fan of fairy tales. And I really, while I didn't watch the show, just from some of the trailers I remember seeing, like I really enjoyed how they incorporated storylines and made like weave them into a bigger story arc. That is one show that I missed out on for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to the whole Prince Charming thing. Yeah, no, I fully agree with Marcelino. I think that this could have a lot of potential to have like a very good positive message about like, hey, you can be a man. You can be the man that you want to be, but that doesn't mean you have to put women down to do it. You can lift women up, and they can lift you up too. We can lift each other up. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to be confined to the gender expectations that society puts on us. That's there's a lot that they can do with this movie, and yeah, if they're making it, I assume there's got to be somewhat of a clever idea behind it.
I think so. Marcelino says it helps that Chris Hemsworth is a feminist, so hopefully his influence plays a part on the movie, as well as bringing other people inside the feminist community to help with the film. I hope so too. We'll see. Disney has always said, look, we're not trying to make movies about messages. So I'm hoping the quality is definitely like, there's nothing wrong with having a message in the movie, but clearly, like, if that's just your own intention, it's like, let's make sure it's quality film, and then we'll include the message. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Anyone who says that Disney is like trying to force messages down us is like, no. They want money. That is their motivation. Money. They, if it just happens to be that the writer has a message that they want to put in there, yeah, that's fine. That's not Disney's goal, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And then last but not least, guys, we're going to get into our last. I know this episode has gone rather long. We've had some really great topics to certainly talk about with you guys today. We will be getting a live viewer questions here in just a minute, but I do want to go ahead and tackle one more topic, Stuart, and that is the idea of video game adaptations to television series. As God of War has been on Prime Video's schedule for quite some time. They had picked up the rights to go ahead and create a television series for it. And ever since the announcement, I've been thoroughly looking forward to it. Believe it or not, I believe it was last week or maybe a week before. I don't remember if we reported on it or if it's something that we missed because we didn't have an episode of Hero Report last week. But God of War has lost its showrunner. The showrunner has left. They have, in fact, departed due to creative decisions or whatever the case may be, and they're moving forward. I have been kind of skeptical as to how is this going to come together now? How long is it going to take for them to find another showrunner? But believe it or not, Stuart, it was a quick turnaround. They have officially found their new showrunner for God of War. And guys, I got to tell you, Stuart, I know you never watched this series before, but if you've ever seen Battlestar Galactica, you will be a huge fan of this news. God of War Amazon TV series enlists Ronald D. Moore as the new showrunner, who was in fact the showrunner for Battlestar Galactica, which some people would say is the best sci-fi series of all time. And that's saying some things, okay? So let's go ahead and dive into this article here. The God of War TV series adaptation at Amazon has found its new showrunner. Variety has confirmed that Ronald D. Moore has boarded the show as writer, showrunner, and executive producer. Moore joins the series shortly after it was reported that original showrunner Rafi Judkins had exited. Judkins left God of War along with executive producers Hawk Ostby and Mark Fergus. They reportedly completed multiple scripts for the series, but Amazon and fellow studio Sony Pictures decided to go in a different creative direction. More recently, hold on, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Come on. More recently returned to Sony Pictures Television Fold with a new overall deal after having departed the independent studio for a deal with Disney and 20th Television. He had previously been with Sony for roughly a decade. During the time, he produced a hit show like Outlander and For All Mankind. An Outlander prequel series and spinoff are currently in the works for All Mankind. It says Moore is known for his work in the Star Trek franchise, working on shows like Next Generation, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine, as well as writing the films Star Trek Generations and Star Trek First Contact. Ooh. He is perhaps best known for his reboot of Battlestar Galactica, which ran for 4 seasons on Sci-Fi and also spawned 2 TV movies. Yeah, man. So his resume precedes him, to certainly say the least. He is no slouch when it comes to sci-fi and things like that. So from definitely working on Star Trek series to writing for big-time Star Trek movies, and most importantly, the most recent Battlestar Galactica reboot, Ronald D. Moore is no freaking slouch, man. No slouch at all. And I got to tell you, Stuart, I love this news, man. I absolutely love this news. I know you didn't have the opportunity to check out Battlestar Galactica yourself, but it blew me the F away. I love that series. And I didn't know that he had such hands-on experience with Star Trek also. And reading this just even gets me more hyped for his sensibilities and what his vision might be for this world. While I never really look at God of War as like a sci-fi epic or anything like that, if you look at his show in Battlestar Galactica, he really dives into the concept of mythology and connecting past and history and lore to sort of present day societal issues and whatever the case may be. I mean, he manages to really he knows how to world build and sort of create a world around him. And because of his love for like mythology and just lore building, there's a part of me that thinks him tackling something like a God of War is like right up his alley. And I can't wait for just the level of depths of storytelling that Ronald D. Moore might be able to go ahead and bring to something like a God of War. So if you ask me, while I was disappointed in the idea of Prime, dropping its previous executive producers and its other showrunners, the fact that they got rid of them and managed to bring on Ronald D. Moore as they kind of go in a completely new, different creative direction, I think this is nothing but a win. I mean, this to me, this is the move, Stuart, that I want Disney to make, in the sense of like, I don't know how you top Damon Lindelof. I don't know how you top Stephen Knight. But if you're going to bring somebody else in the right, I hope that they are a Grand Slam pick, because Ronald D. Moore is a Grand Slam pick for God of War. It does make me curious as to why he wasn't their first initial pick. I wonder if like Ronald D. Moore's schedule opened up and they're like, you know what, we kind of want him, so let's kind of, we're not really feeling these multiple drafts and scripts that you made for us, and we want to go in a different route. I don't know how this came to fruition, but Ronald D. Moore compared to who you had before, to me, this is a huge win. So I'm really excited for this, Stuart.
I'm very curious now, knowing who the new showrunner is. Like, first of all, let me just say this is an awesome pick because, yes, everything you listed, especially like you know, Star Trek wise, I'm a huge fan of. Like, so currently, I don't think I mentioned this on the show yet, but you know, as you know, I started like a Star Trek binge a little while ago, got through Deep Space Nine and several other shows, but I recently picked it back up. I'm currently on the final season of Voyager, and you know, so the fact that he's worked on Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, which are like the peak of Star Trek. Like, I don't think Star Trek will ever be better than those three shows, basically. And then he's also directed, you know, Generations, which was fun, and then First Contact, which I thought was amazing. Like, it's probably my second favorite Star Trek movie.
Amazing.
Yeah, so this is an absolute win. The thing that I have the most expectations for, honestly, with a showrunner like this is the dialogue, because one thing that you know, Star Trek knows how to get right, and I assume Battlestar Galactica, from like you know, the big fan base that show has, I'm assuming they both like know how to write dialogue really well. So
it's dense and it's heavy. You know, like it's really great sort of storytelling from a dialogue perspective, for sure.
That's awesome to know, because yeah, that's exactly what works with Star Trek too. So with this guy being the showrunner now for God of War series, I'm excited. My biggest question though would be which God, like are we adapting like the God of War from the PlayStation era or from the current era? Because you know, the older, you know, Kratos or younger Kratos, because I think the kind of writing that would suit him better would be the younger Kratos, because that's when you would have not only Kratos to play with, but then also all of the Greek gods as well, which I think could lead to some potential. What's so interesting too with God of War is that there aren't really any good guys. Everyone's kind of just like in it for their own selfish desires. The gods, and Kratos himself isn't even a good person. So it would be interesting to see like that depth of dialogue, but not coming from, you know, heroes or people that you normally root for, like in Star Trek, you know, coming from people that, you know, are not necessarily heroes, essentially. So I kind of hope they do young Kratos, because I think there's a lot more fun you could have using the Greek gods and then playing in that area. But if they do like the more modern games, I totally understand that too. I'm just curious what you would do, because you wouldn't have as many characters to play with as you would if you went with the older God of War games. But yeah, overall, great news. Hoping for the best, and I'll definitely be keeping my eyes out for news about the show.
You know, when you tell me, you know, I've only played a little bit of Gods of War. I don't think I really sunk my teeth into the story aspects of it. But what you just described, I'm just thinking to myself, man, Ronald D. Moore would just nail that. Like, especially the younger version, and like those multiple characters that you were kind of talking about, just their mentality and their personality. Like, that just sounds like something that Ronald D. Moore would have a field day kind of playing with, for sure.
Yeah. I think what makes all the characters in the God of War franchise just more dangerous than anything is that they're all bad and they all think they're right. It's a dangerous combination, and I think that would be fun to watch and play with that kind of a world.
Yeah, it seems like type of fundamentals that I think Ronald D. Moore loves to kind of play in. Like, that feels like his sandbox, for sure. So we'll see how it comes along. But from losing a showrunner and writer to gaining an incredible one in Ronald D. Moore, looks like God of War series is back on track. So let me know your guys' level of excitement. Where do you mostly know Ronald D. Moore from? Did you watch Battlestar Galactica? Did you watch any of his Star Trek series or films? If so, what do you think he could possibly bring to the God of War series? What's your level of excitement? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that, Stuart, out of the way, we will move on to our next segment. And I think you know what time it is.
I do indeed. And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
And we're going to get into our live viewer questions segment of the show. If you want to go ahead and submit a live viewer question, or you can always do so over on our YouTube channel. We usually will post a live viewer comment post for you guys Saturday afternoons or Saturday evening. Just always go over to our YouTube channel, as you see right here. Feel free to click on that community tab. And again, every Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, we'll drop a live viewer question post. We got a couple of posts here. So let's a couple of comments. So let's see if we can how quickly we can get through some of these, since the show is running a little bit late today. So I do apologize about that, guys. I'm wondering if I should put on some music too. We'll see. Hopefully this doesn't slow down my stuff too much, but let me drop this beat. And if for some reason the music's too loud, you know, just let us know.
Yeah, it usually takes a minute, but it should be back to normal in just a moment.
Yeah, Marcel, look at some good questions. Okay. Let's see here. So first up, we got Marcelino. Good to see you in here, Marcelino, as always. One thing that irritated the Power Ranger fandom itself was when they made U.S. exclusive weapons and power-ups that were only exclusive to the cockpit. We thought it was wasteful to create exclusive weapons and power-ups if they never got to be used outside the cockpit. And while Hasbro era still followed that annoying trend, the reason why Beast Morphers and Dino Fury didn't get as much hate for it is because they balance it out by having the majority of exclusive weapons and power-ups be used outside, while only a select few are cockpit exclusives. Did it ever irritate you on that same level as well?
Little bit. I agree. It was just like wasted potential, because I absolutely loved the designs that they would sometimes go with in the cockpits, especially like in Power Ranger Samurai. I remember like thinking like those outfits looked really cool. Same with Ninja Steel. So I don't know why they did it. I wouldn't say it was like it bothered me immensely, but it was like kind of a, you know, it just constantly made me wonder, like, why even do that then? Why spend that much money on something if you're not going to like really utilize it?
Yeah, I don't know. I have always felt weird about weapons inside of the cockpit. I've never really understood them personally. I like my weapons to be used outside of cockpits, but you know, I don't know if it like irritated me or anything like that, or really bothered me. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I feel about it. You say you have several times. You have said several times that Legends of Tomorrow changed its tone because they had no showrunner. But if you were approached to be a showrunner of Legends, what would your vision be? And what would be your multi-year plan? Which characters would you use? Which comics would you adapt? He gives some examples for what he would do. He says, the direction I would do is what seasons 1 and 2 initially did, which is using numerous side characters to give them more to do and answer lingering leftover questions and plot holes in Arrowverse. Also, never go into parody territory. Comedy would exist, but not on the level the later seasons did. Seasons 1 and 2 would be mostly the same, except I would have Vixen and use the Mari McCabe version. Seasons 3 differences, such as giving Constantine more closure by having the name villain of by having the name villain be Nergal instead of the original character, with a council of villains that would be composed of previous villains of the week. Season 4 would be multiversal, where the Legends travel to parallel worlds, old and new, introducing new characters like Crimson Fox, the Thunderer, Captain Atom, etc. The main villain would be Crime Syndicate, and there would be hints towards Crisis. Season 5 would include less time traveling and deal with the ramifications of Crisis, with Legends finding out have different levels, and would go on search mission to find their multiversal friends. Season 6 would deal with the Thanagarian invasion, which would be a result of Crisis, with Hawkman and Hawkgirl being recast. And for the final season, I would use Imperiex as the main villain. I would also adapt lesser-known comic storylines like Underworld Unleash. Ooh, that's an interesting one. Post-Crisis, 0 Hour, DC 1 million, World War III, and Our Worlds at War. I wouldn't be concerned about the budget and wouldn't let it dictate the story I wanted to tell. Like that many shows do, I would work around the budget while also telling the story I want to tell. I do like the idea of Underworld Unleashed and 0 Hour personally. But if you had if you were the showrunner, how would you approach Legends? What would your vision be? Do you have a multi-year plan, and which character would you use?
That is okay.
That's a big one.
Good question. Season 2, let me just say that season 2 I would have kept exactly the same. I actually really love the way that was done. Season 1, I would have gone with a very similar plot, but I would have probably written this full story out before filming, because I think there were a lot of times where the story made no sense in season 1, where Vandal Savage I would have either tried to make him a bigger threat than he actually came off as, or I would have had the whole plot be that like no one can find where he's at, and so the only thing they have to go off of are small time anomalies here and there, instead of just like they constantly have to kill him in different time periods, but then that doesn't work. So so I would have done something in that area for that. And then man, I can't really come up with a plan for everything like going forward, but I can tell you that I would have definitely utilized the JSA a little bit more if I could, and then I definitely would have done the Thanagarian Earth War, because like that still boggles my mind that they hinted at that and then never went anywhere afterwards. The Time Bureau, I would have definitely utilized them, except for the plan would have been a lot different. Instead of it being that like, this government corporation wants to capture like mystical creatures to open up an amusement park, I would have just had it be that they actually want to use time to reshape the world in their image, type of a storyline. So make him like an actual like threat and everything. And trying to think if there was anything else. I wouldn't write off characters the way they do in the show constantly. I would try to kind of have like a pattern of, if I bring in a new character, maybe then I would try to write off a character, but I wouldn't be constantly being like, okay, we're going to write these 3 characters off so we can bring in these 3 characters. I wouldn't be constantly changing the roster like they did. I would try to be a little more slow about that, because I think that was one problem also, was like the roster constantly changed for a while, like way too fast, before you could get used to any characters. So so those would be like kind of the basic ones that I would change, but the big one is I would definitely be doing the Thanagarian War. And also, even though in execution it wasn't as great as it could have been, I also do like the idea of having a full season where they're trapped in the past somewhere and they don't have any of their, they don't have the ship, they don't have anything to really utilize except for what they have on them. I like the idea of taking the story in that direction too. I just would have done it differently than how it was presented, because I think that the way it was done in the show itself, it just wasn't my favorite season. It wasn't a great season, if I'm being honest.
Well, yeah, to be fair, because of the fact that I haven't watched all of Legends of Tomorrow, I'm just really gonna go off of what I've known. That's really like the first 2 seasons and maybe some of season 3. So I would agree with you, Stuart. 2 things I would have really focused on more. I would have definitely had the Thanagarian War probably have been season 2, if not season 3. I don't know if I would have recast Hawkman and Hawkgirl. I probably would have just kept the same actors, and kind of built off of it. But I guess I do wonder if there's a part of me that wonders, based off of the CW budget, if the Thanagarian War was just too much for them. But I would have probably found a way to work around it and told a story. But Thanagarian War would not have been forgotten on my watch. I did like the introduction of the JSA. I wish that they were utilized a little bit more. I probably would have had an entire season of that for sure, and then maybe even kept around some of those characters kind of going a little bit forward. There are some characters I probably would have liked to have had included in Legends that never got included, one being Arsenal from Arrow. I would have liked Arsenal to have been part of the team. And I know Kenan Lonsdale was going through a lot of his own, but I for some reason I always wanted Kid Flash on there, to utilize him in some way, shape, or form. Because I think a speedster on the team would have been really impactful. So those are the 2 characters I probably would have added to the show, despite them not really having a lot of time in things like Arrow or The Flash. I do like your call on 0 Hour. I really would have wanted to have gone that route. Like, if we had a JSA storyline, I personally would have liked to have seen an Alan Scott maybe even a Jade in there. Maybe even a passing of the torch of the ring itself. 0 Hour does have a big Green Lantern presence in the sense of Hal Jordan Parallax. Maybe even a Hal Jordan Parallax on Legends of Tomorrow would have been really intriguing to me. So that's probably the route that I might have gone. Unfortunately, I didn't watch the show long enough. I do like your idea of a crime syndicate. That would have been pretty dope. But I really don't know how I would have navigated all the other series because I didn't really get a chance to watch them so much. But as far as tone, I wouldn't have gone the comedy route. I would have really liked to have stuck with how the first 2 seasons certainly were. But if people like the comedy aspect, ups to them. But yeah, those are just some of the things I might have changed, though.
What's funny is they almost had Alan Scott in Legends of Tomorrow, but DC basically kind of told them no. But the concept art they used for him, it was funny. They basically used Ryan Reynolds' likeness, but they gave him Alan Scott's costume.
Ooh, that would have been dope. That would have been
Yeah.
dope. Let's see here. He also says we talked about this before at one point. Season 2 finale of Supergirl, where Supergirl wins against Superman. You guys said that you liked how the fight went about, and when I suggested a different approach, like giving Supergirl outside help so it's more believable for when she wins, you guys expressed that you weren't fans of the idea or didn't like the idea. I'm just curious as to why you don't like my idea, because I felt like that would have helped everyone. Fans wouldn't get angry because Supergirl is an experienced hero who only won due to outside help and dumb luck. It would help raise the stakes, and most importantly, the writers save their credibility and important details like these. Because I'm trying to become a writer myself, I'm going to be more critical than normal, but it isn't to say that I can do better. It's because I want these writers to do better.
I don't remember saying I didn't like that idea, because if I did, I definitely somewhat take it back now. Because I do think that given the context of the show and Supergirl, the fact that Superman was a character within the show of Supergirl who had been fighting crime, fighting aliens and all this stuff, fighting these big threats for 15 years, I want to say, whereas Supergirl was only 2 years into it. And and then she not only beats Superman, but Superman immediately after the fight constantly reminds her, oh, by the way, Supergirl, I really want you to know you're way stronger than I am. I just thought that was a little bit cringe kind of in a lot of ways. So I think that outside help honestly would have been fine. So if I disagreed with that before in the past, I definitely take that back, because now I'm thinking it would have, I think the fight would have made more sense if you had Supergirl and Martian Manhunter, or Supergirl and why do I forget his name? Her love interest played by her actual real life husband, Mon-El. Yeah, Mon-El. If the two of them teamed up against Superman, that would have made sense, as well. But or if they utilized an aspect of Supergirl that was stronger than Superman, an aspect that they could have set up earlier, for example, have Supergirl have more of a tolerance to kryptonite than Superman because of how much kryptonite she had been taken in that season, and so she uses that to her advantage to take down Superman. Something along those lines. Set up something that shows how she could have taken Superman down, instead of just kind of telling us, even though there's nothing to imply she's done more than Superman, you just got to take our word for it. 2 years was more than enough for her to surpass Superman, and she was able to beat him in this fight. So I don't know, I think that whether it's outside help or just something set up, anything could have been better than the way it was actually executed.
I believe, if I remember correctly, I think Superman was mind controlled, or he was under type of influence, right? I think that was,
but he made it very clear that while he was under that control, he was at full power. He literally says this in the dialogue: I was at full power and I was trying to kill you.
I don't know about that, Superman.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think my excuse was, I think it was because of the fact that he was mind controlled and under the influence, that it's been a minute since I've watched the episode. I'm trying to remember because I remember I played the clip here too of what I said in the season 2 finale that expressed why I didn't have a problem with it. I might have to go ahead and rewatch it again. But I didn't have a problem with it so much. And look, Marcelino, look, to each their own. If some people didn't like the way that season 2 was handled or the finale, that's more than fine. He says mind control. I find that a BS argument because it's too easy to scapegoat. I mean, look, they used it. They used mind control. I don't know if that's a scapegoat if they actually used it. I think that would make for a reasonable reason. I can't remember exactly the dialogue that he used, even though Stuart says that he calls it out. But when I think of mind control, I mean, I don't know possibly how you can have complete control over your emotions and your thought process to fight smartly, right? Like my impression would be if I really wanted to kill you, to me that feels very much like I'm full of rage and I can't think straight enough. And so this opens up a weakness in me for others to take advantage of, and Supergirl did that. And so for me, I don't have a problem with that at all in regards to how it was handled, because clearly it didn't bother the superhero show because it went on to have 5 seasons. So people clearly still continue to watch it, and it didn't really hinder the success of the show or not. But, in regards to your question, what did you say here? You said fans wouldn't get angry. Oh, he says, I felt like it would have helped everyone. Fans wouldn't get angry because Supergirl isn't an experienced hero. No, and people are gonna hate when I say this shit. No offense to the fans, but I don't care. I don't care. And I say that because, and I've said this before, I'm making a movie. I'm making a show. I'm writing a show because it's a story that I want to tell. And fans can love it. Fans cannot love it. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to mold or shape a decision that I make for a story based off of what fans want. Do I want to make fans happy? Absolutely. Were some fans happy? Absolutely. Were some fans upset? Absolutely. I'm just not out here to I'm not out here to please you. I'm out here because I have a story that I feel is truthful and honest to who she is as a character, and I'm going to tell that story. Because I can tell you right now, Marcelino, you can make all the changes in the world that you want to that story. You can make changes that you think are going to make fans happy and more accepting. But you know what's going to happen? There's going to be some fans that don't like what you made. Okay? I'm just being honest. It may be a less percentage of fans that are unhappy, right? You might have gone from 50% unhappy to 30% unhappy, but you still got 30% people unhappy. And so my mentality has always been, as a writer, write the story that you want, write the story that makes sense, and put it out there. Because when I look at season 2, I don't think they did that with ill intent.
Oh, definitely not. No,
right?
Even if I kind of complained about the way it was written, let me preface. Let me just say, I did not in any way think it was an anti-Superman or anti-men kind of thing at all. I think it was just because she was the main character, so she had to win. I think they could have written her victory differently, but at the same time, yes, she did have to win that fight because guess whose show it is? It's Supergirl's show.
Marceline says, it's Supergirl show. He says, I don't care about those fans' opinions. I care about the opinions that I and many fans did not like. And look, your opinions are valid. Yeah. Your opinions are very valid. You don't have to like what they created, but I'm not going to go out of my way to appease every fan that didn't like something. And so for me, I'm going to write the way that I want to write. He says he felt that that was just bad writing, in my opinion. I mean, maybe it was bad writing, but I think, you say you can't use mind control as a scapegoat. I mean, is that a rule somewhere? I mean, I feel like I've seen mind control used plenty of times as I don't want to say as a scapegoat, but as providing an opening for there to be a weakness to a character because he's not in his full right mind. I don't think that's bad writing. I think that's, to me, that would make sense. If I'm mind controlled and somebody wants me to go kill somebody, my mindset is I've got no mental function as to what I'm doing, right? It's not my body in control anymore to make the right and necessary decisions. I don't think that's bad writing. I just, we just may not like the excuse or what they use to get to the end goal is all. Yeah, maybe he says maybe it's an overdone trope. You might be right. But I still think that it opened the door for Supergirl to have the victory that she did. So yeah, I look, to each your own, man. I mean, like I said, you have your own opinion on that, and that's cool. I'm just advising you as to why I was okay with it, and that's all there is.
And what it all comes down to is that the writing on the CW shows are never never perfect. Except for, I mean, Superman and Lois definitely has come close, and we've definitely had some amazing seasons of the Flash, Arrow, and Black Lightning. But even at their best, it's rare that you're going to get like perfect writing, especially just, and that's not a diss on the shows. It's just because because writing for a television show, the way they do for the CW is challenging. You have to have a script ready to go every week. And they don't really give you that time to prep in between seasons, because then they'd have to pay you off the clock, which they don't want you to do. They don't want you working on it until it's writing season again. So I don't envy their position. Like, it is not easy being a writer for a cable network television show.
And I will say that I am curious if the showrunners themselves have ever answered this question. This is something I kind of want to Google search now.
I don't know,
to see if they have ever explained their reasoning behind that, or if they themselves have dealt with any kind of pushback. But I would be curious as to the showrunners' decisions. But look, Marceline, I'll just say this. Look, good luck in your writing, man. If you want to be a writer, props to you. I love your passion for wanting to tell better stories than what you personally see. But I think writing for a studio, writing for a big company, there's probably some challenges that you personally maybe have not had to face, or the pushbacks that some studios might have in regards to like the writing and the stories that you personally want to tell. So while I understand it's fair to be critical of the writers' shows like this, don't be too overly critical until you yourself find yourself in that kind of position. But I love your passion for it. I love you wanting to make great content that will make everybody happy. But I will just say, at the end of the day, Marcelino, make sure that you're true to yourself. Make sure you tell the story that you want to tell, and that you're personally not sacrificing your quality of writing to appease a group of people. Mm-hmm. So good luck to you, brother. Like, I really hope that your writing career certainly takes off, man. So and I'm not saying you're wrong about anything. Your opinion is certainly your own. We just have different opinions as to how we would certainly approach it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But good luck, man. I really do hope that you're successful with your writing. Peg C. So I was watching a Ninja Turtles YouTuber, The Old Turtle Den, where he goes into detail about the original script of Secrets of the Ooze. In the film was to end on a cliffhanger, with Professor Perry being revealed to be a robotic shell for an Utrom, aliens from the original TMNT comics, who created the Ooze to power their technology.
That would have been super cool.
Yeah, I don't remember Professor Perry very much.
Dang, parents ruined that movie. I'm just saying, man. Parents ruined the Ninja Turtles live action movies, because they complained that the first movie was too violent, had too much language. So then when the second and third one came out, they rarely used their weapons in a fight. And they definitely toned down the. They make it a lot more tonally like the cartoon, in terms of like how much they play up the jokes and the humor, and then they tone down the serious aspects of it, that I thought worked really well.
Yeah, I maybe I gotta learn my TMNT a little bit more. I'm kind of happy with the direction that it went. there's a part of me like it's a cool concept, but I'm kind of cool that I'm cool with the idea that they changed course, the way that they went. As a kid, did you guys ever watch the TV pilot, which was a live action TV show of the adventures of Teddy Ruxpin, before the creators decided to do an animated cartoon series instead of going to live action? I did not. I don't think so. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Now you got me curious. I used to have a Teddy Ruxpin though. He used to have like cassette player in his back, right? I think that you could put tapes in or something and he would speak to you, or I can't, man, I want to say I used to have a Teddy Ruxpin growing up as a kid, but I don't remember a TV pilot. I remember like commercials of the Teddy Ruxpin bear, but I don't remember the TV pilot. But man, now I'm gonna have to see if I can find it. Yeah. That sounds like a DVD, that like a burned DVD that I would find at like a convention somewhere, like some random like vendor. There used to be a vendor that used to be out here in Dallas that was just burned copies of like television movies and series and stuff, some popular and then some of just the most obscure things that you didn't even know had ever been created or anything like that. Like I found the Wonder Woman TV pilot there. There was a Fantastic Four movie burned copy, the original one there. I mean, there was just so many great stuff. So it would not surprise me if he might have had the TV pilot for the Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin, but I'm gonna have to look that one up.
So I Googled it, and one of the things that popped up was this real?
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Let's see here. He also asks, sorry, my camera keeps dropping. What are your thoughts on the character Jason Scott Lee as a leader of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and when he became the Gold Ranger in Zeo?
Ooh, I think I've already gushed about how much I loved the reveal of him being the Gold Ranger.
Gold Ranger.
That was such a fucking cool reveal. Like, I know everyone loves the White Ranger reveal, and that was great too. Don't get me wrong, Tommy.
Remind me how he was revealed.
Well, they kept like hinting that it was Billy for a little bit, and then there was like a slight hint that it might have been Tommy's brother. But then you get like this whole thing where Tommy's going to get him, and so it's just him and then someone else. And obviously him wearing like a hood made no sense because like it was just there because they didn't want to show it to the audience. Him hiding his identity from the enemies made no sense because they already probably were going to find out who he was later anyways. But basically they're just running through a field being blasted, like basically dodging all these blasts, and then they finally make it back to the command center, and then that's when he finally takes off the hood and reveals it's Jason. It was such a cool reveal, and the fact that the way they built it up and the fact that they had so many red herrings was so great. I loved it. And so that was that. And then so as a character overall, I kind of I like the goody two shoes attitude that we got introduced to when the show began. I mostly love the fact that he preaches what he says, which is, to only use your, fight in self-defense. And we see that like when he, takes on Bulk and Skull, he doesn't go out of his way to beat them up because they're being jerks. He simply lets them try to attack him, and he just, defends himself pretty much, exactly what a good role model should do. I think that the early Jason is a great role model for kids. And I think that's like what they were going for when they made the original Power Rangers. These weren't meant to be relatable characters. They were meant to be role models, and I think Jason was the perfect leader for that. And then what I loved, my favorite freaking Jason moment between him and Tommy, I actually think like it's so well acted, and it's almost like if you watch it out of context, you won't even realize this is coming from a kid's show. But it was when he's like talking about how when he left the team, the only reason he did so was because he knew they had a competent leader, of course referring to Tommy. He knew that they had a competent leader to take over, and that when he came back to the team, he never intended to take that away from Tommy. He still wanted Tommy to keep that leadership position, and I think that's like super mature of a leader to do, to know when to step down and when to let someone else take over. So yeah, overall, I love Jason as a character. I think silly, yes, very much aimed at a younger audience, and that's totally fine. I still think it's the exact kind of character a show like Power Rangers needs, basically.
Yeah, no, I echo every sentiment you just said. If anything, I almost feel like Austin St. John coming back felt like more naturally himself, almost like he just fit his role even better. It just feels like there was some level of growth involved for him as a character. And it feels like he had a little bit more fun, not necessarily being the leader per se, like he felt a little bit more relaxed in that and be able to kind of be himself. So it worked for me, but I echo everything that you said. What are your thoughts on Akka Red, a Super Sentai warrior who's able to transform into previous Red Rangers of the past? I always loved Akka Red and his design too. I wish we saw more of him though, personally. Blossom. Remember I said Toei should make villains inspired by Mr. Burns and Mrs. Smithers? If the Burns-inspired villain would be a snake-like monster, what kind of animal should they use for a monster inspired by Smithers?
What is a compliant animal? Like I almost want to say for Smithers it would be like a dog or a puppy, because that's like his whole thing. He's just like super compliant with anything that Mr. Burns wants.
I don't know why I got sloth in my head. I don't know why.
See, I wouldn't say sloth, only because like that would imply he's lazy, and I think Smithers is anything but lazy. If you could work for a guy like Mr. Burns for like and somehow like not quit, like, oh my god, that takes skill.
Would it be cool if they made Power Rangers that have to collect potions to create their ultimate power for Zords and themselves in order to permanently seal the enemy away? Or
Power
maybe
Rangers alchemy. I love it.
Ooh, yeah. Or maybe collect old Ranger related relics that sort of have a secret code within them to beat those monsters for good. Damn, I love that, Blossom. I love both those ideas personally. Like, I really, really do. That sounds pretty badass to me. Jessica Friedman, do you think Superman will decide to retire and hand things over to Jordan and Jonathan in the finale of Superman and Lois? And do you think Superman and Lois if they had gotten a 5th season, they would have introduced Superverse versions of Flash, Green Arrow, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, and Batwoman and Black Light? Oh, I see what you're saying. Like those characters within that Superman and Lois universe.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about all of them. I mean, maybe if we have a 5th or 6th, maybe. I don't know. But what do you think, Stuart? You watch the show more than I do.
So from what I heard, and this could be wrong, but the showrunners did want to basically build up a DC universe within the world of Superman and Lois. So they did want to eventually like explore like other new like superheroes, not just related to the Superman mythos, but because they got cut short, they decided to only focus on really the Superman side of things. So yeah, I do think that we would have at least, I don't know if it would have been like any of the characters we've already seen in the Arrowverse, but we definitely would have gotten to see their version of different DC characters beyond the Superman mythos.
The most talented man in the world is here with us today. He says, what do you remember about Michael Jackson's announcement of his This Is It tour in 2009, potentially being a monumental event, being marked as the highly anticipated comeback for the King of Pop, who had been largely absent from the public eye for several years? The press conference on the O2 Arena in London was a global spectacle, with fans and media eager awaiting his return to the scene. The This Is It documentary. Following Jackson's untimely death in 2009, the documentary film titled This Is It was released. This film showcased behind-the-scenes footage of the singer's rehearsals for his planned concert series. I do remember seeing some of those. While it offered fascinating glimpses of the creative process and dedication of one of the music's greatest icons, it also generated controversy, like if Jackson himself was really there or he was portrayed by body doubles. Oh, really? Some fans and family members questioned authenticity of certain footage and overall narrative of the film. The upcoming biopic starring Jafar Jackson has generated significant excitement and anticipation, and promises to delve into the tumultuous life of the legendary artist with a family member in the lead. The film has the potential to offer an authentic portrayal of Jackson's life and career. Many hope that this biopic will provide a definitive and compassionate account of Michael Jackson's story, addressing both his triumphs and struggles. If executed well, it could indeed be one of the greatest biopics ever made. I will agree with you in the sense that it has potential to be one of the greatest biopics ever made. I am kind of skeptical as to how much they'll tackle some of his portrayals of his life and his career, just because, if I'm not mistaken, I think especially with it being his nephew Jafar Jackson. I gotta think the Jackson family estate might have final say over the movie, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not quite sure, so I am curious as to the authenticity of it, but I am so looking forward to it, to certainly say the least. As far as This Is It, I don't know if I ever watched the documentary on that. I might have lost my appetite to watching it after he passed, but as far as like people saying it generated controversy, like if Jackson himself was really there or if he was betrayed by body doubles, that's bananas to me, but leave it up to conspiracy theorists to say some of the craziest shit. But you know, I have no idea. I haven't seen the film itself, but I can tell you, had he lived and gotten an opportunity to film the tour, probably would have been one of the biggest tours of all time. The box office amount that he probably would have made out of this was huge. You know, if you didn't live during the time of Michael Jackson at his height of power, you will never truly understand how massive this man was. I mean, today nobody does national and worldwide premieres of like music videos on national television. Like, I remember literally watching ABC and sitting down in front of my television with my parents because a Black and White or Remember the Time was getting ready to premiere nationwide, and people literally would take time out of their evenings and sit down in front of the television and would get millions of viewers. Like, nobody moves the needle like that. Granted, we are living in a completely different time, but what Michael Jackson did was just unbelievable. Like, regardless of how you feel about this man, from a spectacle point of view, it was unbelievable. So I'm sure that This Is It tour would have been a huge success regardless. And I am looking forward to the biopic, though.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I am curious, like, because you brought it up earlier. I am very curious how honest the biopic would be, with the Jackson family being the ones with the final say. How much of what's known, what's just allegations, would be allowed within the biopic itself.
Yeah, I am curious as to what they allow. We got somebody new here. My friends call me Joseph. What's up, Joseph? Good to see you. With Halloween just around the corner, what were some of your all-time favorite Halloween movies from your childhood? And what were some of your favorite Halloween or horror films to have come out today? And do you wish they should have or shouldn't have ever been made?
Okay, today, movies that have come out recently, if you guys have not seen The Substance, highly recommend that. I think modern horror movies, I love The Substance. I love Barbarian. That was amazing. And then, of course, I love Sinister, written by the same guy who did Doctor Strange. Great movie. And let's see, the from my childhood, though, that's a...
I will say from my childhood, while I'm thinking about... Well, you think about childhood, I'll think about modern time. For me, childhood was the Monster Squad.
Yes.
For those who haven't heard of the Monster Squad, it says 5 youngsters find themselves up against a combined might of Dracula, the Mummy, the Gill-Man, and Frankenstein's monster, who arrive in the town in search of a magical amulet. There were just aspects of like Goonies meets classic horror characters that I really loved as a kid. It came out in 1987. I was probably 5 at the time when the movie came out, but it was a VHS that I remember watching quite often. So for me as a kid, the Monster Squad was one. Let me think of a current one, but yeah.
We're the Monster Squad. Yeah. Dude, I love that movie. Oh my god, it's so fun. For me, okay, Casper was definitely one of them. I had to like literally look up on Google like childhood Halloween movies, and now I'm just kind of like going down the list looking at the ones that stand out to me because I remember them. But Casper was definitely one of them. And Return so I guess that counts. That was definitely one from my childhood that I really enjoyed. But I guess honestly, when it comes to Halloween movies, I think I was just more into a lot of the Halloween specials that would be on TV, whether it be like the for example, Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide Halloween special that they had. Even though it's like an old episode and it's really short, I used to love the SpongeBob SquarePants Halloween special. The Charlie Brown Great Pumpkin special was also really good. Yeah, man. So I think that's what's funny. It's like, as a kid, I think I was all about like the TV specials, and then as an adult, I'm all about the Halloween movies themselves.
I think, like, as far as modernized stuff, I mean, for me, like, I just think modern day horror movies are just continuing to get better. I feel like they're really hitting their stride right now with some really great complex stories. I mean, there's like a bunch that I feel like I can go down. I don't know if they were like specifically aimed to be like Halloween films, or if they even came out during their specifically around Halloween or not. But I do love a ton of great just great horror films these days that you can watch during that particular time. I don't know why, like Nightmare Before Christmas, I don't know why that comes up, even though it's like a quasi Christmas film, even though it's got Halloween elements into it. But yeah, that was always more, I don't know, let's see, really modern anymore, huh? Just showing my age. But yeah, there's a bunch of them out there, man. I mean, Marcelino's mentioning a couple: The Ring, Barbarian. I still haven't seen The Visit, the M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Yeah.
I still want to see that one.
That one was all right.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a ton of them out there, man. Thank you for the question, Joseph. We appreciate it. We also got AJ in the house. The Rangers were bad. The Psycho Rangers were widely considered some of the best evil Rangers in the Power Ranger franchise for several reasons. Their dark, twisted, and almost demonic appearances set them apart from any other Rangers that we've had, both good and evil. Their designs were both menacing and iconic, making them instantly recognizable. The Psycho Rangers were incredibly powerful, often overpowering the Space Rangers in combat. Their ruthless and sadistic nature made them formidable foes. As the first truly evil Ranger team, they were unlike any other evil Rangers that we'd had before them and after, who often had a hint of redemption or were controlled by a villain. The Psycho Rangers were purely evil. They were created to be evil, summoned by Astronema, but later revealed to be discovered by Deviant, and had no moral compass. The Psycho Rangers played a significant role in the Power Rangers in Space storyline. Their actions had far-reaching consequences, and their defeat was a major victory for the Space Rangers, which they would return a year later in Lost Galaxy, where Psycho Pink would end up destroying Kendrix. After their initial appearance throughout space, the Psycho Rangers have continued to appear in various Power Rangers media, including comics and Battle for the Grid video game. This enduring popularity was a testament to their impact on the franchise. While there were other great evil Rangers that came after them, obviously before Tommy, the Psycho Rangers stood out due to their unique design, immense power, and pure evil nature. We cannot forget when 3 of them, Red, Yellow, and Black, were played by their actual voice actors in human form in Silence is Golden. They continue to be a fan favorite among fans and a testament to the enduring appeal of Power Rangers franchise. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, man. Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, they were the perfect, especially because it was like, with Power Rangers in space, meaning to like the purpose being for the last season, they were like kind of a perfect final villain for the Rangers to come to have to overcome.
Doomsday, if you were in control of Power Rangers, what changes would you make to the franchise? Probably actually make a show.
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah, I would actually, I don't know. I'd probably find me I don't know. I guess that's easy to say, like, oh, I'll just find me a good showrunner and a good director and a good writer. But, for me, look, I'm okay if we want to keep MMPR in some capacity. I like the idea of brand new characters. I'm not trying to do a Jason, Tommy, Kimberly. Like, I'm not trying to do that. I personally would really like to start brand new with new characters. I don't necessarily know if I would even have Zordon in there, but if anything, I might stick to the themes of dinosaurs as a source of power. So there may be like influences from NPR in that regards, but I would have a completely new group of Rangers and a new, completely different way of like lore as far as established beforehand in regards to how they acquired their abilities. So yeah, I mean, that would be my first goal, would be to come up with 5 unique new characters, type of thing. And then yeah, dinosaurs would still probably be my motif, my theme.
You know what I would probably do also is, you know, and I know this would be new for the franchise, but, you know, we're going with the assumption that, you know, the original series is over and we're kind of like starting over. I would probably try to stick with the same team for a while before like introducing a new team, you know, instead of switching like every 2 seasons. I would actually try to at least get this new team going for at least 5 seasons. And then, you know, if I could, I would love to have like a movie franchise where it's like the reboot of Mighty Morphin. It would be, you know, made for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fans, but then the show would focus more on like expanding the world and, you know, possibly, yeah, basically it would still focus on one team, but it would be one team. It would be a different team though, you know?
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I kind of like, I don't know, and this is probably what they were planning on doing for the reboot itself. You know, I kind of initially liked the idea of them having a new series and movies in different mediums. You know, I definitely, I don't know if I would have started off with a movie or if I would start off with a series, but similar to how the Batman movie has spin-offs, I would definitely probably make more spin-off content coming out of the movie itself. Yeah, I would also definitely have a my first season of the show would establish everything. You would learn about the past lore and whatever the case may be, and then after my season 1, my first spinoff would be an animated anthology of some of the stuff that we learned from season 1 and past Rangers and stuff, and just have them be able to do their own thing and have its own show that's created. And then I just continue to do my seasons 2 and 3 and maybe a movie kind of in between. So do you personally consider Power Rangers and Super Sentai to be one and the same? Or do you think one is better than the other? Personally, I consider them one and the same. Don't get me wrong. I know that Sentai seasons are obviously better than its counterpart. Sometimes Sentai seasons can be equally as good as its American counterpart. And sometimes a Power Ranger season can actually be better than its Japanese counterpart. He says, however, when I look at the franchise as a whole, it really makes no difference to me. So do you personally consider Power Rangers and Sentai to be one of the same thing?
To an extent, yeah. Like, I definitely wouldn't describe how would I mean, yeah, you know what? I would consider them one and the same.
I mean, I guess I don't know how to answer this question. I mean, I guess so. Even though, you know, I do think that they try and take some liberties to make it not be exactly like the Super Sentai counterpart. Yeah, I guess so. I have to think about that one, Doomsday. Right now, I want to say I guess so, but let me think about it a little bit more. How do you feel when watching the end credits Fox tribute in Deadpool and Wolverine? Did you expect the song "Good Riddance," "Time of Your Life" by Green Day to be used for? I mean, look, I didn't expect NSYNC's "Bye Bye Bye" to be in Deadpool and Wolverine either. So yeah, it works for me. I didn't expect "Good Riddance," "Time of Your Life" by Green Day, but it fits perfectly.
Yeah, I love the end credits for Deadpool. The fact that they play "Time of Your Life" and then give us like an amazing montage of everything that came before. That was a perfect way to close out the Fox universe.
Yeah, absolutely. But all right, y'all, I think that will do it for all of our live viewer questions here today. Thank you, everybody that certainly participated with some great questions, and some new people that joined us today also. We did go extremely long today. I do apologize about that. Look, this is the first time coming back after a 2-week hiatus, so we definitely had some stuff to get off our chest and talk about here. Next week's episode will not be this long, I promise you. But thank you guys so much for certainly joining us for a brand new episode of A+ Hero Report this weekend. We got a lot of content certainly still yet to come for you guys this week, so stay tuned for that. Again, we got Daima, Dragon Ball Daima episode 3 review dropping this weekend. I'm also going to play a little bit catch up on Agatha All Along and the Penguin for you guys this week, so look forward to brand new episode reviews for that throughout the week. And then any big news that might wind up dropping, whether that be television or movie news. If anything drops really big that we want to talk about, maybe we'll make some videos throughout the week. I may have one or two more panel highlights certainly still to come. But feel free to come back to this video at any time. I'll probably go ahead and put timestamps on this video so you guys can certainly navigate it better as well. But Stuart, if people want to find you on social media, man, where can they find you?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 over on Instagram and on Letterboxd.
Hopefully I'll get a chance to check out Venom 3 this week too. Maybe Stuart and I, since Stuart already watched it, maybe we'll do a spoiler review later on this week. But I'll keep you guys posted.
I am definitely down.
But yeah, I think that's going to do it for us here, guys. We'll definitely be back next weekend. I don't think next weekend's any holiday. That'll be November 3rd. But I'll definitely be back next weekend for you guys. But that's going to do it for today's show. If you want to follow us, we're at A+ Opinions everywhere on social media. You can definitely follow us also over on TikTok at Hero Report. If you like your Discord forum community, we do have a Discord in the description box below. And again, follow us everywhere at A+ Opinions, especially our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. And if you are going to follow us on social media anywhere, I would highly suggest the Facebook page. That's where we drop all of our news throughout the week. And then we take 6 topics from there and discuss them here. So that's going to do it for us, y'all. We'll certainly see you next weekend. But until then, do us a big favor. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.